Chapter 528, Hidden Danger. Chapter 528, Hidden Danger. The Ice Jade technique had 7 levels, and each of them was tough to break through. Sometimes, a warrior could break through her realm but not the level of the Ice Jade technique. Bing Qing Tong and Han Kui were at the level 4 of the Ice Jade technique. They had stayed at this level for almost 10 years. When they stepped into the second sky of Spirit Realm, their Ice Jade technique didn't advance together. However, after they had been with Shi Yang, they had a breakthrough. At the moment, their Ice Jade technique had reached level 5. The Ice Jade technique had a special feature, due to which it did not always improve whenever the warrior had a breakthrough in her realm. However, once the Ice Jade technique advanced one step further, the warrior's realm would have a small development. In other words, after their Ice Jade technique had been upgraded, not long afterward, Han Kui and Bing Qing Tong could enter the profound third sky of Spirit Realm from their current second sky of Spirit Realm. Lung Dan Qing and Shuang Yu Zhu also had the same benefits. These two women had stayed at the level 3 of the Ice Jade technique, and now were both at level 4. Just like Bing Qing Tong and Han Kui, they had entered a new small realm of the second sky of Spirit Realm. After Yu Li Ming died, his essence qi of the third sky of Spirit Realm warrior was divided into 5 parts after being refined. A part of that had helped Shi Yang draw the brilliant sunlight bathing, while the other 4 parts had boosted the Ice Jade technique of the 4 women. No pain, no gain. The challenge Shi Yang had met this time almost put him to death. After he had converted the adversity to fortune, it benefited 5 people at the same time. Bing Qing Tong, Han Kui, Shuang Yu Zhu, and Lung Dan Qing were glowing, their eyes sparkling enough to charm anyone. Inside the wing room, Shi Yang was frightened by this change, so he didn't know what to say. Outside the room, as Bai Ji Sen, Bai Sai, and Bai Di saw the brilliant sunlight bathing fade away, they knew the situation was steadied. They hurried to the place. Laro Li pitched his voice. Shi Yang, old bro, are you alright? I'm okay. Can we get in there? Ah, your guards. Can you tell them to retreat? Outside the room, the ghost hunter, the war devil, and the king of demonic insects were still guarding the place, not allowing anyone to come close. Bai Ji Sen and the others froze on looking at the beasts. Since they didn't dare to act rashly, they let Laro Li ask for the situation first. Okay, I got it. Shi Yang smiled, then called back the ghost hunter and the war devil, letting them get back inside the blood vein ring. Then, he let them enter the room. After Bai Ji Sen, Bai Di, Bai Sai, and Cai got in the room, they all wore a strange face, eyeing the 4 women of Bing Qing Tong's group. The 4 women felt awkward as if they had been busted. Their faces were ruddy, with a moistened appearance. At first glance, people knew what good things they had done. Little brother, you are a fortunate man. Bai Sai complimented, his face filled with admiration. The 4 women of Bing Qing Tong's group were famous in the fighting union not only because of their cultivation bases, but also their beautiful appearance and elegant manners. Each warrior of the fighting union, more or less, had thought about these 4 women. Unfortunately, no one could conquer them. Shi Yang had come to the Ice Emperor city not long ago, but he had already subdued the 4 women at once. Even Bai Sai had to admire his deeds. Little brother, that brilliant sunlight bathing had come for you, right? Bai Ji Sen wore a serious face, talking about the main business directly. Shi Yang was stunned. After he knew what so-called the brilliant sunlight bathing was, he nodded. I heard that you know how to use the Northern Dipper arrow, and you also know how to use the star power, asked Bai Ji Sen. Shi Yang nodded, his face suspicious. Why do you care about this? Bing Qing Tong and the other women had their eyes sparkled. Their bodies shivered when they heard him admit it. As they were all the warriors of the divine great land, the 4 women knew the secrets of the radiant god cult regarding the magical fusion of the 3 mysterious techniques. Do you know that only the cult master of the radiant god cult knows the method to combine the flaming sun execution, the silver moon execution, and the star execution? Bai Ji Sen took a deep breath, then explained, in each generation, the radiant god cult has only one cult master, and only he knows how to fuse the 3 techniques. Only when the elders of the cult declare that the cult master died will they select the new master. At that time, they will come to the Radiant Summit. At that peak, they will join forces to open the secret chamber there. The newly elected master will learn the secrets of fusing the 3 techniques in that chamber. Shi Yang shook his head. Each generation has only one radiant cult master, and only he knows that secret. Only he can know the ultimate Upanishad. Bai Ji Sen's face turned more solemn. In the legends, the one who knew how to combine the powers of the sun, the moon, and the stars, even if his realm wasn't enough, he still could subdue the elders of the cult. This is also why the position of the cult master of the radiant god cult is unbreakable. What did you say? Shi Yang was stunned. Bai Ji Sen affirmed while nodding, even if the newly elected cult master has only the sky realm cultivation base, once he can fuse the powers of the sun, the moon, and the stars together, he can oppress any elders who cultivate the flaming sun execution, the silver moon execution, and the star execution in the cult. No matter that elder has the first sky or even the third sky of spirit realm cultivation base, he would still be subdued. Shi Yang discolored as he suddenly recognized the seriousness of the issue. One sect could have only one master, one paragon. He had accidentally bumped into this mess, and he had both the sun martial spirit and the star martial spirit. Did it mean he was a master without a real status in the radiant god cult? How serious this problem was, he understood pretty well. If he were the current master of the radiant god cult and knew that there was someone like him, who could fuse the 3 secret techniques together, and that person could use this method to oppress all the elders in his sect, what should he do? I think you realized the seriousness of this issue. Bai Ji Sen took a deep breath, mused for a while, then continued, luckily, only we know about it now. As long as we keep it in the down low, people of the radiant god cult can't know about it. Bai Ji Sen paused for a while, then shifted his look to Bai Di, Bai Sai, Laro Li, and Laro Lun. I think Bai Di brother won't want to see anything bad happen to our little brother here. I guarantee that I will forget everything here once I get out of the place. I will not disclose anything to anyone. For City Master Bing and the 3 elders, I think you guys won't spread out the story here, so. Shi Yang frowned. Of course, if you, little brother, don't feel secure, you have the powers to kill all of us. This is the most secure way. Bai Ji Sen suddenly lifted his head, looking at Shi Yang deep in the eyes. Shi Yang was astounded. He then burst out laughing, shaking his head. First, let alone I have this ability or not, even if I have it, I won't do that. Bai Ji Sen, Bai Di, and Bai Di were all strong warriors with profound realms. Even if he could utilize all of his powers, he couldn't do that. Thus, he didn't think about that intent. I know you aren't that type of person. Bai Ji Sen smiled as he relaxed his stiff face. So, what you should do now is to hide it. Never let anyone you don't trust get the information that you can fuse the powers of the sun and the stars. Otherwise, I think you will encounter great dangers. Which realm does the radiant god cult's cult master have? His heart fell as he asked. The second sky of true god realm, Bai Ji Sen said with an admiring face. Shi Yang's visage changed as he nodded quietly, I got it. He understood that when an expert at the second sky of true god realm wanted to kill him at any cost, even if he had the war devil, the ghost hunter, the king of demonic insects, and the heaven flames, he couldn't escape death. At this moment, he had made up his mind that he had to secure this secret. Unless he had the strength to parry the master of the radiant god cult, he should never disclose that he had the sun martial spirit and the star martial spirit to any living men. Perhaps we are overthinking. Bai Ji Sen saw Shi Yang tense, and couldn't hide his laughter. The master of the radiant god cult has always covered his men's shortcomings. He has a good reputation. Also, he's a generous man. Perhaps, even if he knows this, he won't eradicate you. But you should always be alert. Little brother, you should understand that point. Bing Ching Tong and the other 3 women also realized the seriousness of the matter. They kept silent, but they were all worried about him. The radiant god cult's master was the most dangerous warrior of the divine great land. Hundreds of years had passed by and he could still threaten many warriors and receive admiration from them at the same time. Such a character could kill all creatures in this Ice Emperor city. If he took action, even Bai Ji Sen, Bai Di, and Bai Sai couldn't escape. Thanks for letting me know this. I know what to do, Shi Yang's brows slammed together, then answered in a serious tone. All right, we should go now. With you staying in the Ice Emperor city, I think the Nings won't dare to come back. As he had tasted the bitter fruit this time, I think he will ask his friends to come with him here again. I will probe this a bit. City Master Bing, you'd better report the General Union what had happened here. If the Ice Emperor city has to fight the second time, it can be the war between the Fighting Union and the Heaven Temple. At that time, we won't just stand and stare. Bai Ge Sen hesitated for a while and then continued. Shi Yang and Bing Qing Tong nodded. We'll set off now. Little brother, if you visit the White Emperor city, you should be our guest at the Arok family. Bai Ge Sen smiled, not caring if Cai Yi agreed or not. He took her hands and left, soaring through the clouds, disappearing shortly. Hey Shi Yang bro, remember to visit us at the Banner family. Brothers Laro Li also invited him. Shi Yang smiled, regarding them. You should be watchful about every move of yours. Remember, don't let anyone not close to you know that you confuse the sun and the stars' powers. Bei Sai patted his shoulder. One day, when you have the confidence to resist the Radiant God Cult's cult master, you won't need to worry about this anymore. Yeah, I can see that you have an endless potential. Then, Bei Di and Bei Sai took the Laro brothers and left the palace. Chapter 529, Dead Soul Mountain. Chapter 529, Dead Soul Mountain. Half a month later, the Ice Emperor city was still quiet and peaceful. 10 days ago, Bing Qing Tong, Han Kui, Shuang Yuzhu, and Lung Dan Qing had broken through their realm in the ice chamber Shi Yang had asked the ice-cold flame to build for them. Bing Qing Tong and Han Kui had entered the third sky of Spirit Realm, and Shuang Yuzhu and Lung Dan Qing had reached the second sky of Spirit Realm. After their breakthrough, Bing Qing Tong immediately sent the message to the General Union. The person in charge in the General Union felt excited for them when he knew they all had entered the next realm. The Heaven Temple and their Fighting Union had been prepared for a fight, which was now delayed because of their new realm breakthrough. The Fighting Union utilized all effort to protect the Ice Emperor city. They didn't regret sending the most elite force of the Fighting Union to battle with the Heaven Temple. As the responsible person of the Heaven Temple saw their determination and guts, he had to weigh pros and cons. Eventually, he notified the Ning family to not act rashly. The fight that was about to take place had ended quietly like that. No one knew what the leaders of the Heaven Temple and the Fighting Union had negotiated, but both sides stopped their actions altogether. When they knew that the Ice Emperor city wasn't in danger anymore, Ba Sai Teng and Ba Fei bid their farewell to Shi Yang and went to their family's territory to find the Ba family's treasures, which might be hidden somewhere there. Shi Yang stayed in the Ice Emperor city to help them build an ice chamber. With 2 drops of the cold chalcedony, the ice-cold flame and the Holy Spirit God had upgraded their intelligence to another level. These 2 strange living beings became more humane. After the Holy Spirit God had taken in 1 drop of the cold chalcedony, the white skeleton clone became translucent, as beautiful as gems, and with a dense cold air meandering, tangling with the dazzling divine light. The ice-cold flame made a trip around the bitter cold land to supplement a large amount of freezing qi. Its power was restored fast. The day when the 4 women had completed their cultivation in the ice chamber, Shi Yang told them he had to leave for a while. He was going to visit the Dead Soul Mountain. Bing Qing Tong knew what he was worried about. She tried to insist him to stay, but since he was persistent, she had to let him leave. The time they had spent together was short, but the feelings they had for Shi Yang weren't shallow. These women wanted to keep him in the Ice Emperor city and enjoy the rest of their lives together. However, Shi Yang didn't appreciate that thought. He told them clearly that he didn't want to stay there and retire. As the 4 women had no way to persuade him otherwise, they could only accept it. Bing Qing Tong and the other women were cultivating the Ice Jade technique, so the Ice Emperor city and the bitter cold land were the best places for them to practice and thrive. To reach the higher realm, they couldn't leave the Ice Emperor city and go with him to the Dead Soul Mountain. Thus, they could only see him leave. At the moment, their realms had been improved a lot, which made the Fighting Union highly value them. Even if Ning Du Quan came here again, with their cultivation bases, the women weren't afraid of the Ning family's threat. The fighting union had put forth everything to protect them, so the Heaven Palace didn't dare to act rashly. Shi Yang could put aside the concern for them. After he'd done comforting the 4 women, Shi Yang left the Ice Emperor city alone, continuing his journey. On the way to the Dead Soul Mountain, he endured the hardship of training, ascetically cultivating the Upanishads of the powers he had learned. The negative energy, the immortal rebirth secret, the star martial spirit, the life and death seal, and the other Upanishads he had known were studied deeply in an attempt to have a flash of recognition to increase his realm again, entering the gateway of the spirit realm. The 3 god realms were the most desired threshold any warrior wanted to reach. Entering the 3 god realms meant that one was walking on the path leading to the peak as a warrior. To reach the 3 god realms, countless warriors trained strenuously, secluding themselves deep in the mountains or the forests to perceive the hidden powers and comprehend the truth of their realms. Since he had many martial spirits, if he wanted to comprehend them thoroughly, it would take a lot of time. However, even if one knew it was hard, and didn't want to put more effort, one would never cross this threshold until he or she died. Thus, along the way, whenever he had free time, he made himself quiet down to comprehend the true meanings of the powers, with his whole body involved. Through his efforts this time, he had reached a new realm in understanding the Upanishads of the powers he had. Although he couldn't break through with only understanding the truth, it helped him strengthen his powers whenever he performed his attacks, in which he had a deep-carved understanding of the death and life seal. Once he released the death and life intent domain, he could even affect all living creatures and flora in the whole area. As his star martial spirit had had some changes, during his trip, it had continually absorbed the power of the sunlight. Even if it were midnight, he still could feel the existence of the dazzling sun in the vast sea of stars, feeling the feeble solar energy flowing into his body. The sun, the moon, and the stars were everlasting. They would not disappear as day and night took their shifts. They were just covered temporarily. If the martial spirit were strong enough, the warrior could still feel the energy of the sun, moon, and stars no matter it was day or night. They could always absorb the energy, but the speed would be different. The divine great land was immensely vast, and the Ice Emperor city was just a city in the far west. After he had left the Ice Emperor city, he passed by many big countries along the way. All of them were dependent on big forces like the Heaven Palace or the Fighting Union. The emperors of these mortal kingdoms had to pay a visit to their guarding forces or some strong families on holidays or occasions. These dependent kingdoms had to offer a large amount of cultivating materials for those warriors to use. Perhaps they would refine some pellets or treasures in return. Some strong empires with the large territory and population of millions still had to bend their heads in front of those experts who could move the mountains or fill the river. They had to be as humble as possible. On his way, he crossed many strong empires, whose strength was much formidable than the raging fire empire of the Quiet Cloud, equal to the God-blessed empire. However, no matter how strong they were, they couldn't be compared to the old factions that had a history of tens of thousands of years in the divine Great Land. Each ancient faction had their own true God Realm warriors to guard over. The true God Realm experts in the divine Great Land were like gods. If they wanted, one true God Realm warrior could destroy any country, which didn't have the same level warrior to protect them. Under such intimidating threats, those big countries didn't dare to rebel and offered them as many cultivating materials as they could find in their countries. So many high summits and rivers existed on his way, and many lone warriors were cultivating in seclusion. Along his trip, he had seen a lot of things that he had never known in the endless sea. Crossing many empires and famous mountains, he could sense some invincible dormant experts. His understanding of the divine Great Land had been deepened. On his way, he didn't intend to provoke any enemy or use his power to slaughter. Quite the contrary, he had been like a homespun, ascetic monk, always lonely in hempen garments, passing through the high peaks and the deep swamps. He befriended beasts, and fed on earth and firmament. He became quiet, and didn't talk to humans, just wanting to understand more about the path he had chosen. At the peak state of the martial path, an expert could move the mountains, his soul could penetrate the highest heaven, and his body could fly in the sky. Along his lonely journey, he had been wholeheartedly training in hardship to comprehend the highest level of the martial path. He had a clear direction, He just needed to take each step towards the acme of the martial path. He had concentrated his spirit, souls, and body into the training, leaving his mind empty to soon reach the spirit realm. There was no calendar in these mountainous areas. Time flew by quietly. He didn't know how long it had passed or how many big countries and massive mountains he had crossed. After crossing a swamp area that he couldn't see the shore of, he finally saw a majestic mountain range whose summits were penetrating the sky. Each peak looked like a sharp sword stabbed directly to the highest sky. Clouds bobbed around, and beasts could be seen scattered here and there. The mountain ranges continued one after another without an end. Hundreds of mountains stood in front of his eyes. Each of them was grand and majestic, where dense heaven and earth chi gathered. Beasts were running here and there. Sometimes, he could see some warriors gliding back and forth, seeming to be secluding in these mountains to cultivate. Green, boundless clouds and mist drifted just like cotton scattered here and there around the mountains. Inside the green clouds and mist, there was a strange cold and evil aura. Sometimes, some malicious dead souls appeared inside the green clouds, who didn't have real bodies, and gave people a terrifying feeling. The Dead Soul Mountain was the most mysterious and dangerous place in the divine Great Land. In this mountain range, there were almost 1,000 mountains with different sizes. Each of these mountains was the house of both warriors and beasts. In some mountains, some intimidating beasts could transform into human form. They looked exactly the same as other normal warriors. When they didn't urge their powers, ordinary warriors couldn't point out the differences. Also, there were dead souls living in the Dead Soul Mountain. Those dead souls used to be the souls of strong expert or beasts, which had gathered the yin chi to form. Some said that those dead souls were pagans who came here from the alien area, through the vast bobbing clouds, and landed on the Grace mainland by chance. The clusters of green clouds hovering above the Dead Soul Mountain became the evil lairs of the dead souls. And, it seemed only the dead souls could use these evil lairs. Once warriors and beasts came near, they would be attacked to death. Gradually, they would turn into dead souls too. In the legends, the dead soul's devil lair was some sort of gateway to heaven, leading to the mysterious outer space. Unfortunately, ordinary warriors and beasts didn't dare to approach them. As long as they were the creatures that had souls, once they got near to the evil lairs of the dead souls, they would be eroded and turned into dead souls. Even spirit realm warriors couldn't escape this tragic consequence. The dead souls' evil lairs were the special features of the Dead Soul Mountain. They existed in the green cotton clouds that they could only be observed and never intruded. From time to time, after 1 or several years, an anomalous situation would happen there. Sometimes, there would be the tremendous dead souls, and sometimes, it would be the invincible, mysterious energy which could shake the whole Dead Soul Mountain. Some strong experts of the divine Great Land shared that they had gone near the dead souls' evil lairs, and from a close distance, they saw some people walking in there. The legend of the dead souls' evil lairs had been spreading through tens of thousands of years in the divine Great Land. However, until now, no one could tell clearly what the dead souls' evil lairs actually were, or what stayed in there. Perhaps, someone did know the secrets of the dead souls' evil lairs, but they didn't want to share with others. Looking at the grand mountains from afar, divine light radiated from Shi Yang's eyes. He stood quietly for a while and then muttered, "Finally arrived." Then, he strode towards the place. Chapter 530, The Alchemist's Center. Chapter 530, The Alchemist's Center. The Dead Soul Mountain's topography was special. It was situated between the Radiant God Cult, the Pure Land, and the Devil Valley, and the distances between them weren't too large. However, no force managed this area. The ones who often visited this area were the alchemists and the blacksmiths at all levels. Rumors said that there were thousands of alchemists and blacksmiths living in the Dead Soul Mountain. This special class of the Grace Mainland liked the Dead Soul Mountain, and made it the center of the alchemists and blacksmiths of the entire Grace Mainland. Among the other warriors, the alchemists and the blacksmiths belonged to the noble class. Normally, the alchemists and the blacksmiths wouldn't depend on any forces, as they had dedicated their whole lives to refine pellets and secret treasures. Those people were quiet, odd, and didn't like to get along well with the others. However, in the Dead Soul Mountain, The alchemists and the blacksmith lived in harmony. They studied and discussed the Upanishads of refining pellets and forging treasures with each other. When warriors living around the Pure Land, the Radiant God Cult, and the Devil Valley were in need of pellets or secret treasures, they would bring abundant materials to the Dead Soul Mountain, then find the corresponding alchemist or blacksmith to refine the desired items. Of course, they had to pay for the service. Many warriors from the Grace mainland came here to refine pellets and specialized treasures for their sects, even though they had to travel a long distance for this. The Dead Soul Mountain had many qualified alchemists and blacksmiths. When they came here with an attractive payment, they could have what they desired. The alchemists and the blacksmiths here had formed a system in the Dead Soul Mountain. They didn't turn their back to the 7 ancient factions or took part in the dispute between them. These special warriors had a great passion for refining medicines and forging weapons. They wouldn't favor anyone, as they only followed their own rules. As long as the payment was good, they could forge weapon or refine pellet for anyone. Also, no matter how furious the battle between the 7 old factions was, they would never target the Dead Soul Mountain. In this continent, the Dead Soul Mountain was quite a peaceful place with good conditions for refining things. Warriors living around there often traded cultivating materials with the alchemists or the blacksmiths. This place was the holy temple of the alchemists and the blacksmiths. Living on numerous grand mountains were the alchemists and the blacksmiths. The strongest alchemists and blacksmiths took the richest mountains. Some of them taught disciples, while some just cultivated alone to find the acme of their refining and forging treasures, sinking in what they called the Great Path. 2 valleys were backing each other in the center of the Dead Soul Mountain. They were called the Spirit Potion Valley and the Precious Tool Valley. These 2 valleys were vast, as big as a small city, and were surrounded boisterously year-around. People who traveled to the Spirit Potion Valley were all the alchemists, while warriors who visited the Precious Tool Valley were all blacksmiths. The Spirit Potion Valley and the Precious Tool Valley had many shops where cultivating materials to refine medicines or forge weapons were sold. Outsiders could always visit these 2 valleys to find the alchemists and blacksmiths to refine the items they wanted, as long as they could find the right person with an appropriate price. Generally, the Spirit Potion Valley and the Precious Tool Valley were almost free. They didn't have many rules or taxes. Not only human warriors, even the beasts and the pagans were free to enter the places. No one would specially target them. There were almost 1,000 mountains in the Dead Soul Mountain range, and half of them were occupied by intimidating beasts. Those beasts could transform to human form, and their powers were much more tremendous than human warriors at the same level. Anyway, the beasts there lived in harmony with the alchemists and blacksmiths. They didn't fight often. Beasts which could cultivate to the peak and have intelligence were no less smart than mankind, so they also needed good medicines and weapons. Since they were living inside the Dead Soul Mountain range, they understood the cultivating materials there better. Beasts who came to find the alchemists or blacksmiths with sufficient amount of materials often prepared better payment than human warriors. Usually, the alchemists and the blacksmith wouldn't deny the offer, and would cooperate with the beasts. Thanks to its special features, the Dead Soul Mountain range had attracted many strange races, some of them being super strong. They had settled down and earned a decent living in the Dead Soul Mountain range. They had been cultivating silently, gathering the energy of heaven and earth to increase their realms, while collecting rare and precious materials there to prepare more medicines and weapons for their tribes. As Shi Yang was flying over the Dead Soul Mountain range, he released his soul consciousness, frequently sensing strong aura emitted from each mountain. These auras came from humans and beasts, but some came from sources he was unsure of. Perhaps these auras came from the peculiar souls he had never encountered before. Mankind, beasts, and pagans lived together in the Dead Soul Mountain range, and didn't interfere each other's life. However, they often went to the Spirit Potion Valley and the Precious Tool Valley to do business with human alchemists and blacksmiths. All of them lived together in peace and harmony. The Dead Soul Mountain range was vast. With his Sky Realm cultivation base, Shi Yang spent 7 days flying to cross couples hundreds of mountains. Finally, he arrived the Spirit Potion Valley in the center of the Dead Soul Mountain range. The Spirit Potion Valley bathed in the sunbeams of a new dawn. Under the warm sunlight, he could see people moving and spacious streets packed with stores and shops. Many human warriors and alchemists were moving in front of the shops, finding the raw materials they needed. Among them were humanoid beasts wearing clothes with sharp horns on their heads, or having a long tail behind their bottom. All of them were operating equally in the Spirit Potion Valley. No human warriors in the valley showed a strange face on seeing the beasts, because it was all totally normal to them. Warriors living here had soon recognized the existence of the demonic beasts and pagan tribes. They would never look at them with a bias. Shi Yang observed the situation for a while from outside the valley, and was quite surprised. In the Endless Sea, Cao Qiu Dao, Yang Tian Emperor, and Yang Yi Tian were totally racist. They only acknowledged mankind as the master of the continent. Except for humans, all were considered pagans. According to them, the sea tribes, the dark dwellers, the demon dwellers were all sinister races that should be uprooted. When the demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan had first entered the Endless Sea, the warriors there saw them with fear and hatred, as if there were a big grudge between them, and that the demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan shouldn't exist. The Dead Soul Mountain Range gave him a brand new understanding. Warriors living around here wouldn't make the beasts or pagans their enemies, and they wouldn't want to kill them all. Demonic beasts, human beings, and pagans had lived together under one roof, all borrowing the rich cultivating materials of the Dead Soul Mountain Range to improve their powers. The atmosphere here was much comfortable and free than the Endless Sea. After a long time observing from a far distance, Shi Yang wore an admiring face. He couldn't help but think that when the demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan came to the divine Greatland, the Dead Soul Mountain Range might be the best choice for them. Lingering outside the Spirit Potion Valley for a while, Shi Yang walked into the valley alone. Next, he took a trip around the shops randomly. He was quite surprised and happy as he had a good feeling about this Spirit Potion Valley. The shops in the Spirit Potion Valley sold spirit herbs, miracle fruits, and strange fluids used for refining medicine. At first glance, he could see that the raw materials that were considered precious in the Endless Sea were common and available everywhere. And he also saw many medical ingredients which he had never seen before. They were also widely available. It was worth being the famous center of the alchemists in the whole continent. He complimented in his mind as his impression of the Spirit Potion Valley grew better. Apparently, the cultivating materials in the Spirit Potion Valley were much more abundant than the Endless Sea, and he was sure that the warriors from other areas could never have the attainment of the alchemists here. Walking along the street, he was surprised on seeing the rare materials they had. The sunlight faded out. Seeing the sun was about to set, he remembered the purpose of his trip. Musing for a while, he then walked towards the general direction of the Spirit Hall of the Spirit Potion Valley. The Spirit Hall was a special place for outsiders seeking a suitable alchemist. It was a business center. Warriors could go there to advertise the mission they wanted to accomplish. When the alchemists and the blacksmith couldn't find the materials they needed, they could also ask the Spirit Hall to notice and search for them. The payment would be decent though. When Yi Chang Feng gave him the token, he told him to go to the Spirit Hall in the Spirit Potion Valley and give it to the person in charge, following which, someone would welcome him well. Yi Chang Feng's master was considered owing him a favor. In the Grace Mainland, an excellent alchemist always had good relationship with many connections. The reason why he wanted to find Yi Chang Feng's teacher was to contact the Pure Land through him, as he wanted to use the life original fluid to exchange for Xia Xinyang, and to save her soul from vanishing. In his original plan, he wanted to visit the Radiant God cult first. However, given the advice from Bai Ji Sen, he had to give up his initial plan, as he was afraid that if he went to the Radiant God cult, some experts there might see through the difference in his body. Thus, he had to go further to find the Dead Soul Mountain. In the Spirit Hall, many warriors wearing bluish-grey robe embroidered with the symbol of the alchemists were introducing the newest information to their customers in a businesslike manner. After Shi Yang got into the place, he reached the nearest guard, smiled at him and showed him the token. "Do you recognize this token?" The mystery third-rank alchemist was dazed, looking at the token and then Shi Yang himself, asking him surprisingly, "What's this?" Shi Yang was bewildered, showing the token to the man again. "A friend of mine gave me this." He told me to go to the Spirit Potion Valley and show the token and someone would receive me. Take another look carefully. The mystery third-rank alchemist was dazed. He checked the token carefully. Minutes later, he shivered while his eyes brightened. Sir, please wait a moment. I'll bring the token to my master. Please wait. Don't go. Wait for me here. Just a moment. Chapter 531, Spirit Hall. Chapter 531, Spirit Hall. Behind the Spirit Hall was a spacious room, matted with thick, soft fur rug. The walls of that room had many exquisite carvings of caterpillar fungus. Standing in the middle of the room was an incense burner, from where fragranced smoke of precious grass diffused. The room was warm, with gems sparkling from the ceiling. Jia Lin wore a gold-plated robe of the alchemist, which had 3 spirit herbs embroidered on the shoulder. This was the insignia of a third rank of profound-level alchemist. As one of the persons in charge of the Spirit Hall, Jia Lin worked daily there to manage the operations of the hall. At this moment, he was wearing an arrogant face, lying on his side on a tiger skin and fur-covered chair. He looked at the 2 first sky of Spirit Realm warriors in front of him with an impatient face. These 2 Spirit Realm warriors wanted him to refine pellets for them. However, they didn't pay enough to satisfy him. Jia Lin felt a little bit irritated. Jia Lin had just entered the Spirit Realm, but he had mainly depended on the aid of medicines. His realm wasn't high, and his power couldn't be compared to the 2 in front of him now. Anyway, as he was an alchemist, he had the confidence that the others had to satisfy him. Go home. Without 3 pieces of the silver star grass, I won't help you. Jia Lin waved his hand and couldn't help but grunt. Wait until you 2 can collect the silver star grass. If I have free time, I will consider refining the fierce golden pellet for you guys. But now, please go. The 2 first sky of Spirit Realm warriors stood opposite him, shook their heads in distress and sighed. They were about to leave. At this moment, a guard of the Spirit Hall stormed in, didn't bow to him but walked directly to Jia Lin while breathing heavily. Teacher, look at this. Jia Lin arched his brows, snorted, then scolded the guard, don't you have any manners? While complaining, he took the token and flipped it over to watch. His face changed immediately as he shot up from his seat while shouting, where did you get this token? A young man brought it here, answered the guard with fear. Jia Lin jumped off his chair, taking the guard out of the room and going to the lounge of the Spirit Hall. The brother over there, the guard pointed at Shi Yang from afar. A smile filled Jia Lin's face all of a sudden, his face servile. He came to Shi Yang and greeted him. First, he solemnly handed back the token to Shi Yang and asked, may I help you? Shi Yang was amazed, then nodded to him. I want to find the owner of this token. Jia Lin's eyes brightened as he asked with caution. How do you relate to Elder Li? Why do you have his token? I don't know him. He owed me something, so I want to find him and ask him for a favor, answered Shi Yang. Jia Lin wore a fearful complexion, screaming in surprise. You say, Elder Li owed you a favor? Shi Yang nodded the second time. Jia Lin wore a disbelieving face, his expression interesting. He hesitated for a while and then said, when Elder Li came back last time, he announced that he would not refine medicines for anyone for a while. Also, he asked us not to disturb him. Currently, we don't dare to contact him directly, otherwise. What should I do? You shall take that token and directly visit the Flying Cloud Summit. You can talk with his disciples there to see if he wants to meet you or not. Where's the Flying Cloud Summit? The Dead Soul mountain range had almost 1,000 mountains, scattering in a large area. The distance between the 2 mountains could take up to 10 days traveling. If he didn't know the exact location, searching with his luck only, he would have to spend so much time. Hold on. I'll see if I can take you to the Flying Cloud Summit myself. Jia Lin contemplated, then took out a sound crystal. He held it next to his lips, then muttered. It seemed the man was asking whether he needed to guard the Spirit Hall or not. There were so many alchemists and warriors, their customers, walking back and forth. Many of them knew Jia Lin. As they saw Jia Lin's servile face when talking to Shi Yang, they secretly paid attention to them and tried to guess Shi Yang's identity. Who is that man? Why does Jia Lin have to treat him with good care? It's weird. Jia Lin is one of the experienced masters of the Spirit Hall. He's a noble man in the Spirit Potion Valley. He has never been obsequious to big men from the Pure Land, the Radiant God Cult, and the Devil Valley, right? I don't know. I've never met that young man before. From his clothing, I can say he's not an alchemist. I have no clue. I've been begging Jia Lin many times for a spirit comfort pellet, yet he has never agreed to help me. I'm a spirit realm expert, and that little guy has just the sky realm cultivation base. Jia Lin took wrong medicine today, didn't he? Ghost knows that. People in the surroundings discussed with low tones. They were eyeing Shi Yang, guessing his real status with awe. After talking to the sound crystal for a while, Jia Lin sighed and shook his head with disappointment. I'm sorry. I can't leave the workplace currently. If you aren't hurried, can you wait for half of a month later? Then I can take you to the Flying Cloud Summit personally. Is it okay? Shi Yang shook his head. Jia Lin forced a smile while musing, I will let my favorite disciple take you there. She knows the location of the Flying Cloud Summit, too. Good then. Having heard that, Jia Lin was joyful. He made a call through the sound crystal. Cherry, come here quickly. Not long after that, a girl with a calm expression and wearing a long blue dress walked towards them from a shop not far from there. Her deep blue eyes sparkled as she felt displeased. Teacher, why did you call me here? I was negotiating the price of the multicolored devil mask flower. I had almost gotten it. This girl had long maroon hair cascading over her shoulder. She stood upright, and her eyes were like precious jade, sparkling with a shining blue light. As she appeared, many alchemists and warriors in the Spirit Hall had their eyes brightened up, with their line of sight gluing on her. On her left ample bosom were embroidered 5 pieces of spirit herbs. This meant she was a 5th rank of profound level alchemist. Besides, she was a 2nd sky of Sky Realm warrior. Cherry, take this little brother to the Flying Cloud Summit. Jia Lin assigned her with a low tone. The Flying Cloud Summit. Cherry's blue eyes brightened. She looked at Shi Yang with astonishment, then nodded. I got it. Yeah. Seems our little brother has just visited the Dead Soul mountain range for the first time. We shouldn't delay his business. Along the way, you should introduce the Spirit Potion Valley and the Precious Tool Valley to him too, advised Jia Lin. Cherry smiled and then nodded. She looked as natural and generous as an elegant orchid flower. Sorry for bothering you, Shi Yang bent, smiling brightly. No need to be too polite. Cherry nodded. Her blue eyes showed that she was interested in him. She eyed him for a while and then asked, Do you want to go now? Yes, please. Okay. We shall depart now. The Flying Cloud Summit's in the east of the Dead Soul Mountain. It should take around 4 days from the Spirit Potion Valley. Cherry thought for a while and then added, At night, you have to be more careful. Dead souls in the Dead Soul mountain range will go out at night to hunt. Don't let them nib your soul. Okay. Let's go. The moon shone brightly in the late night. Under the clear moonlight, Cherry was gliding in the sky with a pair of dreamy blue wings on her back. She was as agile as a fairy in the pellucid night. Shi Yang flew behind her, looking at her blue wings with surprise. Cherry beamed a faint smile as if she had recognized his look. She turned around and talked to him. This indigo soaring wing's a profound level secret tool. I had asked a blacksmith in the Precious Tool Valley to forge it for me. The indigo soaring wing can enhance my flying speed, and it also can attack. Watch this. Hazy, cold blue light shot out like steel needles from the indigo wings, leaving toe-sized holes drilled on the rock cliff. Good tool, Shi Yang complimented, pretty and exquisite. Cherry smiled lightly. This indigo soaring wing is not considered a dangerous treasure yet. The blacksmiths of the Precious Tool Valley can fabricate many unimaginable weapons that you can't even count the number of. Some of those treasures even have intelligence. Those are pretty awesome. Shi Yang nodded. Hey, why do you want to go to the Flying Cloud Summit? Cherry wore a curious face. As far as I know, Precursor Li in the Flying Cloud Summit is one of the 5 Grand Elders of our Spirit Hall. He rarely comes to the Spirit Potion Valley. He stays and refines medicines in the Flying Cloud Summit. He doesn't have many disciples. He's a bit arrogant, though. We haven't met him for years, such a mysterious alchemist. Elder of the Spirit Hall, Shiyang was astounded. The Spirit Hall is also a force of warriors? Not exactly, Cherry shook her head. The Spirit Hall was established by 5 sacred-level alchemists. It's to manage the Spirit Potion Valley and facilitate the business with warriors from the outside and the valley's alchemists. Normally, the 5 Grand Elders will not participate in the daily operation of the Spirit Hall. In some special occasions, they will show up and stay in the Spirit Hall for several days to do the talks on the medicine refining principles to alchemists in the Spirit Potion Valley. The Spirit Hall has never restrained the alchemists or cared what the warriors' purposes are. It's just a place for people to do business, providing the chance for them to discuss and negotiate. It won't control the detailed content of their business or collect any taxes and fees. So, the Spirit Hall is a good place. Shiyang smiled. Are you a guard of the Spirit Hall too? Yes, Cherry nodded. We are the guards of the Spirit Hall. We help our teacher to manage the work in the Spirit Hall. Although we can't earn any chi jades from it, there's something that benefits us. That's why we are willing to take this responsibility. What benefit? People who are in charge of the Spirit Hall can ask the 5 Grand Elders regarding a difficulty they meet in refining medicines. And, the guards like us can listen to their discussions when the elders visit the Spirit Hall. Of course, it only happens when the 2 elders visit at the same time and they have the mood to discuss with each other about the attainment in refining medicines. Cherry was passionate when she talked about it. But then, she seemed to be distressed. What a pity that I've been a guard for 5 years, but I have never met such good chances. The 5 Grand Elders, who are the sacred-level alchemists, rarely visit the Spirit Potion Valley. Even if they come, they just greet us and go. We didn't have any chances to talk with them. Buzz buzz buzz. While Cherry was talking, Shiyang heard a strange humming in his head. Shiyang was dumbstruck, with a surprised countenance. The 5 devils had been dormant for really long time, but now, they seemed to be awake all of a sudden. Chapter 532, Awakening. Chapter 532, Awakening. The 5 devils in his inner world gathered despair, fear, bloodlust, greed, and resentment into one entity. In the land of the hollow spirits, they had swallowed a lot of hollow spirits, and then laid dormant. They had no response, as they seemed to head towards an evolution, changing slowly. Shiyang had almost forgotten that he had these 5 devils hiding in his sea of consciousness. As they were flying above the Dead Soul mountain range, he didn't know what sort of energy provoked them, making them scream inside his sea of consciousness. Soon, they would wake up, the thought of which frightened Shiyang. He couldn't help but sink into his mind to carefully check the status of the 5 devils. In his sea of consciousness, the 5 devils were like 5 groups of dusky smoke where he couldn't see the despair, fear, bloodthirsty, greed, and resentment hovering clearly. Usually, just a small stir-up was enough to provoke these negative feelings. The screaming came from the middle of the 5 devils. At the same time, those dark groups of smoke took turns to transform marvelously. The energy meandering around them was dragged into the center. The massive cluster shrank fast. Roughly 10 seconds later, it disappeared. 5 light dots that were as small as the fireflies blinked with a strange light. The volume decreased, but the energy fluctuations became purer. It seemed there were some transformations that were about to happen. After a while, the luminous dots suddenly expanded. Seconds later, they turned into 5 ferocious things, which looked like demogons from the antiquity. One had sharp horns on its head, while another one had a green face and yellow fangs. The others had scale armors covering the body entirely, or a pair of wings extended from the back. None of them looked alike. The only similar feature of the 5 of them was the cold, sinister appearance. The technique to cultivate the 5 devils of the inner world came from the blood vein ring. To help the 5 devils grow, he needed to absorb the negative feelings and some kind of energy in his sea of consciousness. When the 5 devils had just been formed, they weren't that strong. So, they could only use soul attacks to restrict the enemies. After a while, when they could finally escape his sea of consciousness, They had the energy enough to build a half-real body, which wasn't too bad. Today, the 5 devils had the second transformation. Observing his mind, Shi Yang found that the appearance of the 5 devils had been improved, too. Even though they were still in his sea of consciousness, they seemed to have real bodies. Flows of grey energy wound around their bodies, which were like human bodies, giving people a feeling of vitality. Roar! 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 Inside the sea of consciousness, the 5 devils were roaring just like demonic beasts who had sensed the scent of fresh blood. They were gliding around and around, trying to escape his sea of consciousness. Shi Yang's pupils shrank, while his face changed. He restored his sound mind, releasing his soul consciousness to the surroundings to check what had attracted his 5 devils. "Are you okay?" Cherry was astounded, her eyes suspicious as she didn't know what was happening to him. This man halted in the middle of the way. Before that, he had been flying smoothly with her. But then, his eyes went blank. Does he have any disease he doesn't want to tell about? Or have the dead souls possessed him? Cherry suddenly felt tense, while her deep blue eyes chilled. She instinctively kept a distance from Shi Yang. When one was possessed by the dead souls, he would become wildly evil, and would attack every creature near him. At that time, he wouldn't feel pain or have a fear of death. Most of the ones who got possessed would instantly vent out their most violent attacks, using brutal and deadly ways to kill every living thing around them. The dead souls didn't have a body, so they didn't worry that the explosion of the body they possessed would affect them. What they needed to do was to utilize all skills to kill the others. Then, they would draw the others' souls into the dead souls' evil lairs to create new dead souls. As Cherry lived in the Dead Soul mountain range, she understood the features of the dead souls pretty well. When she saw Shi Yang's posture, she started to put up her guard. A lozenge blue crystal that looked like a flame emerged from her palm. The immense blue light was moving inside the crystal, shining like the stars in the sky. The blue light expanded inaudibly, shining on Shi Yang. SSS SSS SSS. When the blue light touched Shi Yang, it was like it got burned, turning into smoke and scattering. Cherry was frightened, screaming inside. As she could sense something wrong, she was about to leave. Her soul-checking crystal could check whether a warrior was possessed or not. When the light of the blue crystal reached the ones who got possessed, it would be evaporated instantly. Why was he possessed? There's no aura of dead souls around. Sigh, it's pretty bad this time. How can I answer my teacher? Cherry felt as if she had just swallowed bitter juice. She thought that she should leave Shi Yang and run away. She knew Shi Yang had the third sky of Sky Realm. After the dead soul possessed him, if he burst out instantly his power to kill everyone around, she wouldn't be able to endure it. Also, the treasures she had could hardly resist his strength. So, she didn't want to do the useless things, and wanted to get back to the Spirit Potion Valley first, and then plan the next move. Right when she had flown 100 meters backward, Shi Yang's body shook as he shouted. "Hey, why are you running back?" Cherry's soft body shivered, her face discoloring with fear. She didn't dare to stop and even sped up. Shi Yang was surprised as he had no clue. "What are you doing?" While he was talking, Shi Yang flew like lightning, shooting towards her. He shouted, "What the heck you are doing? I'm not going to harm you. Why do you wear a face as if you have seen a pervert?" Well, it's true that your appearance is attractive to perverts, but you shouldn't think that every man is a pervert, right? Ah! Cherry screamed, looking at Shi Yang blocking her way with shock. She muttered suspiciously, when the high-level dead soul possesses someone, one can still talk like normal people. But should they talk vulgar things like that? Dead souls in the Dead Soul mountain range divided into many levels. Low levels dead souls didn't have strong soul erosive power. Even if they could possess the warrior, they couldn't talk. Only dead souls at high levels with intimidating soul power could use the host to communicate with people. However, even if it was a high-level dead soul, it could only say some simple things, and it wouldn't be fluent enough. He was possessed by the highest-level dead soul, perhaps? Legends said that the highest-level dead soul had the same intelligence as mankind. When a warrior was taken over by this kind of a dead soul, the dead soul's behavior wasn't much different from humans. Anyway, this sort of dead soul was rare. Not many people had seen them for hundreds of years. Would her luck be that bad today? Cherry was frightened and surprised at the same time, but she didn't continue to flee away. She understood that if she encountered the highest level, dead souls, let alone herself, even her teacher couldn't escape death. Usually, the highest level dead souls would show up when the dead soul's evil lairs had some changes. Once this kind of a dead soul appeared, all the alchemists and blacksmiths living in the Dead Soul mountain range would join hands, and they would even invite the experts from the Radiant God cult, the Pure Land, and the Devil Valley around to help them encounter the enemy. That kind of a dead soul was the most formidable existence. Rumor said that only the absolute true God Realm warriors knew the method to exterminate them. She was just a Sky Realm warrior. If the high-level dead souls used the soul consciousness to control her soul, she couldn't do anything. You. Who are you? Human or dead soul? Cherry regretted it now. She cursed her teacher under her breath. Why he had assigned her such a mission? It's just been a while. Why did you have such big change? Shiyang was quite happy. Did you see ghosts? You saw ghosts. Cherry barked. Then she was astounded, looking at him. You. Aren't you possessed by a dead soul? But why did my soul-checking crystal say that you have other souls in your sea of consciousness? Only the sinister dead souls can burn the light of the soul-checking crystal. Hearing her say that, Shiyang immediately responded. Turned out the existence of the 5 devils had her in doubt. The things inside my head aren't the dead souls. They're something else. The features of their souls are somehow similar to the dead souls though, explained Shiyang. Cherry was startled, her face odd. You're a freak. If one has no reason, who would keep strange things in their heads? Don't you know that when you're wounded or careless, they can take over your soul and control your body? I know. And, I have the method to deal with that, Shiyang didn't explain further. The 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame lived in his host soul, which could swallow all kinds of soul-like beings. Even if the 5 devils were more dangerous, they didn't dare to act rashly in his sea of consciousness. Or else, they would be purified by the flame of the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame. With such a tremendous existence to rely on, no matter what kind of souls or strange things entered his sea of consciousness, they would be just finding a way to death for themselves. What happened to you just now? Cherry was dumbstruck. She frowned, asking him as curiosity filled her blue eyes. Nothing. I just found something. Shiyang smiled, looking at one direction. We'll go there and check it out. Something interesting is happening there. Cherry followed his line of sight, and her smiling face faded. She spoke up with a serious face. That's the place the dead souls' evil lairs often appear. Dead souls linger there a lot. Why do you want to get there? To learn about the dead souls. Aren't you afraid that the dead souls would erode your soul? I've seen a lot of young men like you get possessed by the dead souls because they acted rashly and intruded the forbidden area. Their own souls were expelled. I advise you not to take risks. It's okay. I believe nothing would happen to me. Strange light sparked in Cherry's deep blue eyes. Hesitating for a while, she took out a rock panacea, handing it to Shiyang while feeling painful inside. You should take this rock panacea. It will harden your soul as solid as a rock. Most of the dead souls can't attack you then. I can't refine this type of panacea yet, and my teacher gave me this. Remember, you owe me now. No need. You should keep it. I don't need the support from medicines. Shiyang shook his head, and didn't talk more as he flew towards the direction that the 5 devils had induced. Chapter 533, Hunting Dead Souls. Chapter 533, Hunting Dead Souls. The Dead Souls' evil lairs were the most mysterious exotic area of the Dead Soul mountain range. However, these evil lairs wouldn't stay still. They moved, and someday it would disappear leaving no trace, only to reappear somewhere else. Normally, only the dead souls could sense the exact location of the evil lairs. The region where the evil lairs often appeared would attract many dead souls. This kind of an area in the Dead Soul mountain range was the forbidden place. Warriors who didn't have the absolute confidence would never dare to operate alone in these regions. The 5 devils sent Shi Yang their roars, then completed their transformation, in which their power seemed to advance one step further. Then, they sent him their thoughts and said that they wanted to get near to that area. This surprised him. He hesitated for a while, then came to that area to check the situation. Although Cherry didn't feel good about this, she couldn't change his thoughts. So, she had to follow him to the forbidden area where the dead souls' evil lairs appeared. It was a valley covered with thick grey clouds. There was no sunlight shining on the valley, even though it was still daytime, which gave people a dark, gloomy atmosphere, irritating them. There were many wild blades of grass in the valley, some of which looked like scythes. Bushes jutted from the ground just like sharp swords grown on the ground. That's the bone-picking grass. So dangerous. When a human falls into the bushes, they will swarm together and scrape the meat out of their bones to suck the marrow inside. Cherry arrived, her face solemn. She pointed at the grass underneath and advised him. Don't fall into the bone-picking bushes. Even if you are excellent, it's hard to escape. Shi Yang smiled and nodded. Looking at the bone-picking grass under his feet, he said, "Can we use this strange grass as medicine?" Cherry's brow arched as she beamed a faint smile. "You have a good imagination. The bone-picking grass is a strange flora. How could we use it to refine medicine?" "Ah, no. If you need some poisons, the juice from that grass can help. It can erode the bones and marrow, which stiffens people's limbs." "Does anyone collect the bone-picking grass?" "I'm not sure. I've never tried to refine poisons, so I don't care about it much." Cherry's blue eyes glared at him with strange light as she was shivering inside. This man, is he interested in making poison? Alchemists who created poisons weren't welcomed in the Dead Soul Mountain range. If he were interested in making poisons, he could be a sinister guy, too. She should be more cautious. There's some battling. Shi Yang's pupils shrank. He attentively looked at the direction ahead of him, speeding up. Cherry hurried to follow him. Inside the valley covered with ash-grey clouds, 5 Sky Realm warriors were using secret treasures to fight against 3 clusters of dark green mist. The 3 clusters of mist floated vaguely. Sometimes, they appeared like the ferocious demonic beasts. Sometimes they wore hollow human faces, which never stopped changing. From the block of dark green mist, evil, cold aura exuded out, as if it could penetrate into people's minds. The clusters of mist had changed many times, their shapes unidentifiable. They shot out the cold, evil aura, which formed invisible soul attacks, rippling like waves of water, and affecting all corners. Among the 5 Sky Realm warriors, there were males and females. However, they weren't alchemists. Each of them was like they were fighting against strong enemies. The secret treasures in their hands all had young attributes. The halos around them were scorching red. Dead souls. Cherry let out a low scream to remind Shi Yang not to go closer. She whispered, "They're hunting dead souls. You shouldn't go there and mess up their business." Hunting dead souls? Shi Yang was surprised, frowning. "Didn't you say that the dead souls are really evil and they will erode human souls? If they are that sinister, what do they need to hunt them for? Although the dead souls are dangerous, they aren't useless. They're precious materials to a blacksmith." Cherry stood away from them, explaining with low voice. When they want to make their weapons which have intellect, they can apply some different methods. Among those, the way to make their weapon absorb the natural power of heaven and earth to gain the intellect is the most difficult and mysterious. She paused for a while, and then continued, "However, most of the blacksmiths can't do that. So, it's easier to find the things that are similar to the soul and seal them in their weapon. It's the popular method to make the tool gain intellect. The dead souls are a sort of sinister souls, as they have a strong fighting will. If they can fuse the dead soul and the tool, the power of that tool will be increased marvelously. A mystery level treasure can be advanced 1 level to reach the profound level." "So, you mean they are hunting the dead souls to forge weapons?" Shi Yang was amazed. "They aren't blacksmiths though. Perhaps they want to find some blacksmiths to forge weapons. And because they want to have intelligent weapons, they have to hunt the dead souls." Cherry understood the situation of the Dead Soul Mountain range well. They will erase the independent consciousness, then seal the dead soul in the treasure. Afterward, they will use a special method to activate the ferocious nature of the dead soul, which could increase the power of the treasure. The higher the level of the dead soul is, the stronger the treasure will be. People always do that in the Dead Soul mountain range? Not really. It's not easy to hunt the dead souls. They have to equip the right secret treasures to subdue them. And they also need the rock panacea. Because they have to make sure the dead souls can't possess them first. If they can have the right chance, they can catch them. This is very dangerous. If they encounter the low-level dead souls, perhaps they can succeed. But if they have a bad luck facing the dangerous dead souls, they will have to use their lives to make it up. While they were talking, it seemed the 5 warriors ahead of them had almost gotten what they wanted. The 3 dark green dead souls had low levels, they didn't even have a shape. Under the continuous attacks by the Nemesis treasures, the 3 dead souls were struck scattered. Gathering them again was a hard job to do. The 3 dead souls were divided from the center. Just like ragged cloth, they were floating and fluttering in the air, trying to escape. The 5 warriors wore serious faces, not daring to relax. The treasures in their hands were constantly sparking fire, forming a fire wall that could block a piece of space. When the dead souls were divided, their powers reduced massively. They didn't dare to cross the fire wall, but just increased their erosive soul attacks. The 5 warriors paled. Sweat beaded on their foreheads. Apparently, this kind of erosive soul attack had troubled them seriously. Be persistent. One of them said through his gritted teeth while he was drenched in sweat. These 3 dead souls can't gather again. We just need to resist the last wave of their soul attacks and we can get them. Don't let your efforts be wasted. Endure it. Those 5 Sky Realm warriors had big age gaps. The leader seemed to be around 50 years old. One of the other 4 was roughly 40. Some looked like they were in their 30s, and there was a young girl about 17 or 18 years old. She looked pretty young. As the 5 of them had joined hands, their treasures constantly moved, generating more flames, which made the 3 dead souls struggle harder. The dead souls are afraid of the powers of flame and lightning. Usually, they don't dare to come close to the flames, but it's hard to burn them to death. Only lightning is their archenemy. In the Dead Soul mountain range, when it thunders, the dead souls will hide away. Cherry explained to Shi Yang about the features of the dead souls while looking at the situation ahead of them. It's not hard to find the weapons with flame attribute. However, the weapons with the lightning power are scarce. Even in the Dead Soul mountain range, this sort of secret treasures is still rare. Warriors who have the lightning attribute treasures won't need to worry about the dead souls in the Dead Soul mountain anymore. As long as they see the treasure, the dead soul will run away in fear. They won't dare to come close. Shi Yang nodded, feeling more secure. With the earth flame here, he didn't need to be afraid of the dead souls. At the same time, the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame was the nemesis of this kind of soul beings. If he encountered some brave dead souls, he just needed to release the 9 Serenities soul-devouring flame to purify them. Roar, roar, roar. Strange roars came up from his sea of consciousness. He hadn't had time to do anything, and the 5 dark silhouettes had shot out from the back of his head. They then jumped through that fire wall agilely, grabbed the 3 dead souls and swallowed them. Seconds later, they had finished the whole 3 dead souls. Seeing their efforts about to be fruitful, the 5 warriors had been ready to capture the dead soul. However, they suddenly felt dizzy and immediately found 5 other grey figures inside their fire wall. These figures then besieged and devoured the dead souls. Shi Yang changed his visage as he felt bad inside. Strange light flashed in Cherry's blue eyes. She instinctively looked at the back of Shi Yang's head, her face disbelieving. The 5 devils had flown out fast. Although she stood next to Shi Yang, she only saw 5 silhouettes dash out from behind Shi Yang. Thus, she wasn't sure that they came from Shi Yang's body. God damn it. The 50-some-old man clenched his fists and gritted his teeth indignantly, looking at the 5 figures behind the fire wall. He scolded, "What the heck are those? Dare to take our goods? Go die." The sword in his hand suddenly gushed out a 10-meter-long fire, shooting towards the 5 devils. The other 4 reacted timely. They clenched their jaws and urged the powers of their secret weapons to attack the 5 devils. To hunt those 3 dead souls, the 5 of them had spent half a year to borrowed enough secret weapons. They had also waited for more than a month in this area to find dead souls. After a hard struggling time, they'd almost got them. It wasn't easy to back them into the corner. And now, someone had snatched the spoils of their strenuous war. How could they press down the anger? The 5 of them joined forces again. Fiery flames shot out from the flaming attribute weapons, striking toward the 5 devils. After the 5 devils had swallowed the dying dead souls, they didn't feel pleased yet. They didn't concern about the scorching flaming attack, turning back into the 5 dark, grey shadows, gathering in front of Shi Yang and asking him to find more dead souls to fill their stomachs. Chapter 534, Gigolo? Chapter 534, Gigolo? The 5 gloomy silhouettes didn't have any real bodies, floating next to Shi Yang like 5 grey ribbons. Cherry had a surprised face. She blankly looked at the 5 gloomy shadows. At this moment, she knew that she hadn't been dazzled. Now she knew the things that had devoured the dying dead souls came from Shi Yang. The 5 of them had done many things, but got nothing in the end. As they were about to shout and scold, they realized that those 5 gloomy thieves seemed to have a master. The 5 of them were astounded for a while. First, they tried to sense Shi Yang's cultivation base from afar. After they got to know that Shi Yang had only the 3rd sky of Sky Realm cultivation base, their guts got bigger. They then came close to Shi Yang with rage. "Kid, those 5 energy ribbons came from you, right?" Tai Mu, the leader, snorted with an indignant face. "Don't you know the rules? We've kept an eye on those 3 dead souls for half of a year. Do you know how much effort and crystals it costs to catch them?" The other 4, including 3 men and a young girl, all looked at him wickedly. It seemed they could take action at any minute. Tai Mu, a 3rd sky of Sky Realm warrior, was leading a group of the other 4 2nd sky of Sky Realm warriors. The 5 of them had joined forces and wasted a lot of their powers to gain the upper hand, which gave Shi Yang an impression that the dead souls were tough to deal with. According to Cherry, those 3 dead souls were at a low level. If the high-level dead souls appeared, would even the spirit realm warrior able to catch them? "Kid, are you mute? I'm talking to you," Tai Mu shouted, his face impatient. "Give the dead souls back to us. I won't trouble you. Otherwise, don't blame me for having no mercy. I'm sorry. I can't give them back." Shi Yang responded, beaming a faint smile. "Things that were eaten can't be spat out. I can't return the dead souls intact." After he finished, the 5 people of Tai Mu's group were enraged. They clenched their jaws and gritted their teeth, as they seemed to attempt to risk their lives with his. Cherry's blue eyes sparkled. She frowned and then said, "He's our spirit hall's distinguished guest. We will be responsible for this. When we come back to the spirit hall, we'll compensate for your loss. Is it okay?" "Spirit hall?" Tai Mu discolored. He scrutinized her and then said, "Are you Master Jia Lin's disciple?" Cherry smiled naturally and gave him a slight nod. Even Master Jia Lin can't bully people like that. Tai Mu's visage darkened. "Say it. How will you compensate us? Your spirit hall doesn't need the dead souls. Will you be able to give me 3 dead souls? Our spirit hall doesn't have the dead souls, but we have something to exchange for them." Cherry snorted arrogantly. "Although the dead souls are rare, those 3 were at the lowest level, so their values aren't high. Don't you think that our spirit hall doesn't have anything equal to make it up for you? Harumph, if you've been strolling around the Dead Soul mountain range, you should know about the capacity of the spirit hall." Tai Mu's face became better when he heard that. "I know your spirit hall has big capacities. However, we only need the dead souls. There are many blacksmiths in the Precious Tool Valley. Many of them should have dead souls. When I return to the Spirit Potion Valley, I will ask my teacher to collect 3 dead souls for you guys. How does that sound?" Cherry frowned impatiently. In the Dead Soul mountain range, the alchemists and the blacksmiths had high status. When they treated the other warriors, they always felt that they were one class higher than the others. No matter how tremendous the experts were, they always needed them to refine medicines and weapons. It had happened that way for so long they eventually developed an arrogant attitude that they could control the other warriors. The alchemists of the Spirit Hall had a higher status than other alchemists. In the Spirit Potion Valley, Cherry had a good reputation too. Many people had to be obsequious to her, and not many of them dared to provoke her. This also contributed to her arrogant face when dealing with ordinary warriors. If you ensure that you can collect 3 dead souls for us, we will let it go. If not, I want to take this kid's life as our compensation, Taimu snorted. Cherry harumphed. She was about to agree with him. In her eyes, it wasn't a big deal. Shi Yang smiled while listening to their conversation, but he didn't give any opinions. However, as he heard Taimu threaten him, his face got colder, speaking up faintly. Using my life to make it up. Do you think your 3 dead souls have that high value? Well, to me, your life isn't much value as compared to those dead souls. Taimu smiled, his face sparkling with wicked light as if he was making a joke. Kid, you are living off a woman. Don't tell anyone that. Otherwise, they will look down on you. Understand? After that snatching event happened, Cherry was always the one who talked to him. In Taimu's eyes, Shi Yang was an incompetent boy who depended on Cherry. They instinctively assumed that Shi Yang had done something to seduce Cherry and make her clean up his mess. After Taimu said that, the other 4 burst out laughing with disdain on their faces. They all looked at him with the look they gave to gigolos. Is that so? Shi Yang felt funny. He shook his head, talking to Cherry. You don't need to be bothered with my stuff. You don't need to find the dead souls for them. Well, I want to see what they can do to me. He knew he was wrong when the 5 devils swallowing the weakened dead souls. He didn't want to take in for granted, so he was thinking what he should use to compensate Taimu's group. However, Taimu had spit out just bad words. His dark mind and bullsh *T talks irritated Shi Yang. Thus, he decided to be a B** starred. Ah, Cherry smiled. Interest appeared on her face as she giggled, looking at him and stepping aside. Up to you. I don't want to help you either. You should solve it yourself. Anyway, be careful. Although they haven't restored their powers fully, it should be difficult if you fight alone against them. Since Jia Lin assigned her to bring Shi Yang to the Flying Cloud Summit, she was curious about him. The Flying Cloud Summit was the cultivating place of Li Zhangrong. Among the elders of the Spirit Hall, Li Zhangrong was the most mysterious person. He hadn't come to the Spirit Hall for almost 10 years. It seemed he rarely went out. As he was a high-level alchemist, Li Zhangrong had connections with the strongest warriors of the Pure Land, the Radiant God Cult, and the Devil Valley. He was always haughty, and disdained the others a lot, not even wanting to throw them a look. Since Jia Li had asked her to take Shi Yang there, he seemed to confirm that Li Zhangrong would definitely meet Shi Yang. This made her suspicious. She made some assumption about Shi Yang's identity, and always thought that this young man was mysterious enough to make her think he wasn't as simple as he looked. Thus, when she heard Shi Yang say that he would take care this mess himself, she didn't worry much. Actually, she was anticipating seeing how dangerous Shi Yang was through this. Kid, do you really want to court death? Taimu's face twisted, his eyes dark and gloomy. The flame of anger was burning in his heart, urging him to kill people. Court death? Shi Yang curled his lips. Are you talking about yourself? Anger flooded Taimu. He didn't hesitate anymore. The flaming sword in his hand shot out a column of light, lighting the area. After a while, hundreds of flaming swords torrentially dashed towards Shi Yang, just like fire burning half the sky. Interesting. Shi Yang kept a cold face. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and spurted out a cold air current, which looked like a silky white ribbon. The cold air splashed on the hundreds oncoming flaming swords. All flames were put out, revealing a real sword without the scorching flame. Its spiritual aura was frozen as well. Floating in the air, Shi Yang extended his left arm. A cold current swiftly shot out. Beams of crystal-clear icicles darted like lightning towards that flaming sword, instantly covering it. Shi Yang leisurely grabbed the sword and pinched it. He shook his head, smiling. No intellect. The flame power in it is too feeble. This sword can be reluctantly said to be a grade 2 profound level treasure. How could it hurt me? Taimu, we've borrowed this fire cloud sword. Don't break it. We don't want to compensate that big an amount. One of them yelled. Taimu's face changed. He scrutinized Shi Yang again. Shi Yang smiled, urging a bit of his negative power. The energy around him suddenly increased, as a wild, sinister aura rippled from his body. Taimu was terrified. He discolored as he recognized that there was a furiously dangerous energy covering Shi Yang. Still want to hit me? Shi Yang was calm and steady. He threw a faint glance to the other four, then said neither hurriedly nor slowly. You can join hands. If you think you can kill me, you can try. The other four had only the second sky of Sky Realm. Although they all heard what Shi Yang said, they didn't dare to act rashly. Hey you, what do you want? You are the one who did wrong things, said the young maid who was about 17 or 18 of that group indignantly. She was wearing a short green dress, which exposed her arms and slim waist. Well, it's true that I did wrong things. Shi Yang didn't deny it. He squinted while smiling, looking at Taimu. If he could keep his mouth clean, I would be a nice guy to talk with. Of course, I would make up for your loss. But it's different now. I'm sorry, I was a snobbish son of a B*TCH to have disdained you. Taimu assessed himself pitifully and tried to force an ugly smile. Friend, please give back the fire cloud sword. About the dead soul. He couldn't continue. Even though the dead souls were important and he wanted them, he understood that he couldn't trouble the power that Shi Yang had shown them. So, he didn't know if he should finish his saying or not. Take back this fire cloud sword. Shi Yang snorted. If you weren't the disciples of the Radiant God cult, I wouldn't be letting you go that easy. Although these 5 Sky Realm warriors were borrowing the power of the treasures to use the flame, the energy flowing in their body was the flaming sun execution of the Radiant God cult. Shi Yang got it crystal clear. He still had good feelings towards the Radiant God cult. However, because of his mutated martial spirit, he didn't dare to visit the Radiant God cult. Anyway, Zhao Feng and the other members of the Radiant God cult had helped him in the dark magnetic noxious mist, so he appreciated them. Swoosh! A beam of earth flame poured into the sword. The flame, which had disappeared, burned again on the sword, and it looked even more blazing. Taimu's eyes brightened, his face surprised and joyful. Take back your fire cloud sword. Take me to the place of the dead souls. I'll help you catch 3 more, Shi Yang assigned them coldly. Chapter 535, Precipitous. Chapter 535, Precipitous. As they heard that Shi Yang wanted to help them catch the dead souls, the 5 people of Taimu's group didn't show that they were happy. Quite the contrary, they all wore panic-stricken faces. It's too dangerous. We'd better not go there. We can wait for another chance to catch the dead souls. If we lose our lives, it will be too bad. Taimu shook his head continually. He seemed to have an extreme fear of that area. Shi Yang was surprised. What do you fear? Not only low-level dead souls, there should be some at high levels there as well. If we have to go there, we can't endure them for sure. Taimu smiled miserably. Shi Yang, you shouldn't take risks. It's easy to deal with the low-level dead souls, but it's tough to deal with the high-level ones. You shouldn't go, Cherry advised with a low voice. People living in the Dead Soul Mountain all knew that the dead souls were dangerous. If they encountered the low-level ones, they could use the rock panacea to secure their souls, preventing them from being eroded. However, the high-level dead souls could directly penetrate into the warrior's sea of consciousness to nib their souls, despite the pellet they had taken. If they weren't at spirit realm, it would be tough to defend the soul erosion effect of the high-level dead souls. Be it Cherry or Taimu, they only had the Sky Realm cultivation base. Once they faced a high-level dead soul, they couldn't save their soul from being eroded by the dead soul, even if they had the rock panacea. Once their soul started to be eroded, they couldn't urge any beam of energy to counter. At that time, they could only gawk at the dead soul feasting on their souls. Eventually, their souls would be destroyed. Thus, when she heard that the area had the high-level dead souls coming back and forth, Cherry also felt scared. She didn't want to go there. Shi Yang had the 9 serenities soul-devouring flame and the 5 devils protecting him, so he wasn't afraid of the dead souls. When he knew Tai Mu's group didn't want to lead the way, he frowned, thought for a second, and then said, "All right, then you can just show me the exact direction." "I'm going there alone." "You shouldn't take such risks," advised Cherry. Shi Yang's face was still cold and persistent. Tai Mu contemplated. Under the attraction of the dead souls, he pointed towards a shade of a mountain in the southwest. "There's a cave hiding behind a big pine. When you get there, you should be more careful. The dead souls often travel through the entrance. Inside the cave is gloomy, of course, there are more dead souls there." As the 4 other disciples of the Radiant God cult heard that Shi Yang wanted to take the risk, they all made it clear that they didn't want to accompany him. They showed him respect, but kept a distance from him. "And you?" Shi Yang smiled at Cherry. "Are you afraid of high-level dead souls, too?" "I'm just an alchemist," nodded Cherry. She then answered him soundly. "Fighting is not my strength. Especially in a fight with dead souls, I can't be of help to you." Regarding powers and strength, the alchemists were 1 level lower than the normal warriors, and their knowledge and cultivation of soul weren't as deep as the warriors who had specialties. In the Dead Soul mountain range, some high-level dead souls loved to trouble the alchemists. Since the endurance of the alchemist souls was weak, when they seized the chance, they could attack the alchemist's soul easily, much easier than attacking the ordinary warriors. Shi Yang would never force Cherry if she were reluctant. He nodded while smiling. "All right, you can stay here. After I grab some dead souls, I'll come back here to find you. You should be careful." The 3 recent ones were just the low-level dead souls. It's not easy to deal with the high-level ones. Cherry could see that her advice was no use, so she could only reluctantly see him off. And, although the high-level dead souls rarely appear, it doesn't mean that there are none of them dwelling in the Dead Soul mountain range. If you have the bad luck of meeting up the highest-level dead soul, I advise you not to trust your luck. Run away as fast as you can. Never linger. Usually, the strong dead souls can't operate too far from the evil lairs. As long as you can run fast enough, and far enough from the dead soul's evil lairs, I think the highest-level dead souls won't chase after you. So, are there any distinctive differences between the normal dead souls and the highest-level dead souls? Yeah, but we can't identify it. Cherry shook her head. According to my master, when your soul cultivation base reaches a certain level, you can use your soul consciousness to sense the differences between them. Warriors who encountered the highest-level dead souls almost have no chance to run away. 1 or 2 of them had successfully escaped, but they wouldn't want to share the details they had observed. So, the others couldn't know much. It was no help at all. Shi Yang smiled, and didn't continue. He waved his hand at Cherry, then departed in the direction Tai Mu had shown him. It was an area covered with thick, dark grey clouds, like a grey curtain that hindered people's vision. Shi Yang released his soul consciousness, and immediately found that his sensing was weakened, as he could only sense the soul fluctuations within hundreds of meters around him. His soul consciousness couldn't extend any further. Shi Yang became more alert. He slowed down his flying speed and observed here and there cautiously. He also checked the space underneath him. The valley underneath him had vibrant bushes of bone-picking grass, growing densely, just like the scythe of death, waiting to harvest people's lives. Under the shade of the mountain ahead of him, clusters of grey clouds became thicker, which obstructed his vision and soul consciousness more. Flows of cold and despondent aura flooded from ahead of him. It felt like some small, pale hands were stroking his body, making his hair rise simultaneously in fear. Taking a deep breath, he didn't hurry to intrude the place, but called the earth flame and asked it to fly in front of him, in case some dangerous dead souls would ambush him. The earth flame was like a small sun, shining a blazing light and scorching heat, which washed away the cold. It turned into a beautiful firing line, leading the way. Shi Yang activated the star shield and the dark light shield. Covered in 2 protection layers, he quietly gathered his power, flying cautiously behind the earth flame at a moderate speed, always on alert. 15 minutes later, he arrived at the place Tai Mu mentioned, the shaded area of the mountain. A big pine tree that needed 5 people to circle appeared near the cliff. The tree looked like a giant monster under the shade of the mountain, which could ferociously swallow all creatures. Flows of sinister and cold air flooded out from the place hidden behind the pine tree. Sometimes, people could see the little luminous green spots fly out like the jack-o'-lanterns floating and disappearing into thin air. The flying speed of the earth flame suddenly became sluggish, just like an extremely slow snail. Something's there. The earth flame was quite intelligent. As it sensed something abnormal, it immediately sent him a message. "Yeah, I know there should be something." "Could you sense what it is exactly?" replied Shi Yang. "I don't know. I have never seen this kind of a creature before. They don't have a tangible body. They are sinister and hostile. They want to take everything." The earth flame was uncertain, so its description was unclear. Roar, roar, roar. The floating 5 devils suddenly became excited. They meandered over his body just like tentacles. Half of their bodies coiled around his waist, and the other half was probing around, just like the strange snakes ready to attack. Swoosh! The ice-cold flame turned into a bunch of crystal-clear white lights, shooting out from the blood vein ring. It then condensed into a block of ice crystal, covering his left arm and sending him its thoughts. They are some sorts of evil souls. I have never met such things before. They don't belong in this continent, either. This kind of evil souls are bloodthirsty, and they have a strong possessive desire. It seems they can erode creatures' souls. That's all I can sense. I'm not sure I could sense further. Shi Yang's brows slammed together. He became more careful, adjusting his speed as slow as the earth flame. Eventually, he bypassed the pine tree, and saw a cave hiding behind the root of the tree. The entrance was small, but the shutter looked big. It was really dark, and he could see nothing but the vague green light inside. The green light was despondent, which suited the place's ambience pretty well. This made people sink into an extremely depressing feeling. Whiz, whiz, whiz. The 5 devils were like demonic beasts who had smelled the fresh scent of blood, turning into a thick group of grey smoke and drilling into the cave. Shi Yang's discolored, but he couldn't stop them timely. He sped up, dashing towards the cave. "Don't go." The earth flame and the ice-cold flame sent him their thoughts simultaneously. They seemed to be terrified. At the same time, the 5 devils, who had been eagerly entering the cave, were turning back to Shi Yang with a faster speed. Seemed like they had seen something really intimidating. Each of them showed itself, trying to get back into his body. However, it seemed there was a strong suction force coming from the cave, trying to draw them back. They tried to struggle, but couldn't get out of the cave. In the entrance, a green light suddenly brightened fiercely. Thanks to that evil, gloomy green light, Shi Yang finally saw what were inside the cave. Inside the unknown deep cave, countless deep green dead souls gathered. There was a dozen of them at the entrance. Entering deep inside, the dead souls there were like a green dye clutching on the stone wall. They were seeming as if they were suddenly awakened. At the deepest place of the entrance, Shi Yang vaguely saw something like a big chunk of meat, which had many small holes drilling into the block, where blood was bleeding unceasingly. Under the chunk of meat were piles of many dead warriors. The base of the meat block extended into the center of the dead body piles, as if it were sucking some kind of energy from those corpses. The dead souls in the cave gathered around the meat block. It seemed they were guarding over it, which looked quite strange. All of a sudden, an extremely gloomy and evil aura burst out from the other end of the cave. The green light inside became even more dazzling. Gathering his spirit, Shi Yang found that the dead souls inside the cave were connected to each other by green fibers, just like a big spider web. At the same time, when countless dead souls started swelling, they started to release the soul erosive energy which was invisible to naked eyes, entering Shi Yang's sea of consciousness. At that short moment, he was dragged into illusions. He saw so many dead souls nibbling, tearing his body and sucking his blood. They wanted to drag him into the cave. The earth flame burst out. The earth flame, which was as big as a palm, abruptly released a scorching flame. The sea of fire torrentially flooded into the cave. Numerous dead souls started to scream with a strange SSS sound, as if the earth flame was burning them to the acme of pain. Seizing the chance, the 5 devils struggled harder and escaped the cave, immediately hiding themselves in Shi Yang's sea of consciousness. The moment the 5 devils got in his sea of consciousness, Shi Yang didn't think much, fleeing away with his max speed. Using star brilliance and electric shift, he turned into a flow of starlight, zooming over 10 li like an arc light. Chapter 536, Unhurriedly Enter the Mountain. Chapter 536, Unhurriedly Enter the Mountain. After 15 minutes, Shi Yang came back to where Cherry and Tai Mu's group gathered, his face bitter. How was it? Did you catch any dead souls? Asked Tai Mu with caution. No, Shi Yang shook his head, his face darkened. I met the souls there. That cave's full of dead souls, hundreds of them. Some of them should be at a high level. I'm lucky that I acted quickly. Otherwise, I could have been captured. There were so many dead souls inside the cave, and the aura they released was tremendous. When that large number of dead souls struck together, even the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring flame couldn't burn them all in a short period of time, he supposed. If he were careless and the high-level dead souls took that chance to enter his host soul, what he gained would never make up the loss he had to bear. Hundreds of them. Cherry's face changed as she affirmed, it should be the dead souls' evil lairs near there. Otherwise, it's impossible that so many dead souls could gather at the same spot. I think you had a bad fortune, but still were lucky enough. At least, you came back alive. I have never seen so many dead souls like that. Tai Mu was more frightened. Just 3 low-level dead souls and we had to shed blood already. The 5 of us couldn't even resist 10 of them, let alone hundreds. Well, I have no way to catch the dead souls for you. Later on, you should find Cherry and ask her. Shi Yang rubbed his nose, feeling a little bit embarrassed. The 5 people of Tai Mu's group nodded, wearing a forced smile. Shi Yang had used his strength to prove that he could kill them at any minute. Under this circumstance, no matter what Shi Yang said, they had to agree. They didn't want the backfire. All right, don't wear that bitter face. We didn't say that we won't compensate you guys. It's just the 3 low-level dead souls, not a big deal, snorted Cherry. Tai Mu and his group smiled at her. We should go to the Flying Cloud Summit now. Cherry looked at Shi Yang. Yeah. Let's go. 3 days later, Cherry stopped in front of a grand mountain. She eyed the mountain hiding in the clouds with a longing face. That's the Flying Cloud Summit, the richest mountain in the Dead Soul Mountain Range, with so many precious products. And, only the character like Elder Li deserves a summit like this. People who can visit the Flying Cloud Summit are all big men. They're the elders of the Radiant God Cult, the Pure Land, the Devil Valley, or other famous warriors of the continent. Small people like me have never had a chance to climb this mount. Shi Yang was amazed. The Flying Cloud Summit was more than 10,000 meters high. White clouds bobbed in the middle of the mountainside. Strange animals like the white red-crowned crane were flying here and there. Heaven and earth aura here was dense and pure, which comforted people. From the foot of the mountain, they could see that the Flying Cloud Summit had many green patches where they grew spiritual herbs. They were so many herbs and of various types that it dazzled people. A rugged mountain path led directly to the Flying Cloud Summit. In front of the gateway stood a giant green stone, which had some big old-style calligraphy words. No unauthorized entry. Let's go. We should climb up now. Shi Yang smiled. While he was still talking, his body had already floated in the sky, attempting to fly directly to the peak. Don't. Cherry stopped him. Shi Yang was bewildered, looking at her, having no clue. There are many banned things in this Flying Cloud Summit. Although there are no barriers in this mount, we can't just fly there directly like that. Cherry explained him with a respectful face. This is our Spirit Hall Grand Elders cultivating place. When the elders of the Radiant God Cult or the Pure Land come here, even they have to mount that path. Anyone who flies up directly will violate the rules here. Elder Li will never meet them. So, he has a high price. Of course, Cherry told him with a serious countenance. The Flying Cloud Summit is the holy land of our Spirit Hall. Small people like us don't even have the right to come and say hello. Even if it is my teacher, without the prior permission of Elder Li, he doesn't dare to come here. Since we are small people, we should follow the rules. Pausing for a while, she continued. Are you confident that Elder Lee will meet you? If you are unsure, don't do rash things. Elder Lee doesn't like to be disturbed. Moreover, he has recently told us that without his order, no one is allowed to bother him, including the experts of the Pure Land and the Radiant God cult. Don't worry. If he doesn't want to meet me, I'll leave. Shi Yang smiled. If I'm not sure about that, how can I go there and claim shame on myself? Having heard him say so, Cherry could relax. She nodded and said, all right, you should go there. I'll wait for you here. Anyway, my task was to bring you here. It's accomplished now. I have no other tasks. Cherry was a bit disappointed and somewhat fascinated at the same time. She looked at the peak in the clouds as if she was waiting for something. Shi Yang couldn't help but laugh as he understood that she was waiting for him to invite her to go with him. Let's go. It's been hard for you to take me here. If you don't mind, we should go there together, shall we? Cherry's eyes brightened, her face joyful. She giggled. You are inviting me to go with you? Yeah. Thank you. Seems you still have a conscience. Don't babble. Let's go. Shi Yang took the lead to the mountain. Along the way to the peak, they saw many spiritual farms where rare and precious herbs were planted. Shi Yang didn't know about more than half of them. Cherry's blue eyes sparkled as she greedily eyed at the spiritual herbs along their way. She couldn't help but compliment. Elder Lee's worth the Grand Elder of the Spirit Hall. He's like a god. Only the great alchemists like him could grow these spiritual herbs. Look at this spirit-breaking grass. They say that it only grows in the snowy mountain. This igniting fruit can only bear fruits in the wall slit of the magma rock. These spiritual herbs require the extreme conditions to grow. I don't know what method Elder Lees used to nurture them in the Flying Cloud Summit. Cherry didn't talk much on the way they got there. However, when they arrived the Flying Cloud Summit, she was like a radio at the correct frequency, and couldn't stop speaking. She showed him the herbs and complimented non-stop. She idolized Li Zhengrong so much she regretted she couldn't make him her teacher. Jia Lin's your teacher. Do you want to betray your school? Shi Yang teased her. If Elder Li makes me his disciple, I think my teacher will be proud of me too. He won't stop me, but do his best to have a good relationship with me. Cherry wore a fascinating countenance. Strange light twinkled in her blue eyes while she was smiling. Shi Yang didn't bother to talk with her. He felt that alchemists were the sort of people one couldn't reason with. Each of them was odd enough. So, no one dreams about those spiritual fields. On the way to the peak, Shi Yang didn't see anyone watching over the fields. As he was curious, he asked the girl, "Who dares to dream of the spiritual farm of the Flying Cloud Summit?" Cherry looked at him as if she were looking a dummy. Elder Lee's the peak alchemist of the whole Dead Soul Mountain range. All alchemists respect and admire him. The great elders of the Radiant God cult, the Pure Land, or the Devil Temple have to be servile to him. If they mess up with Elder Lee, it's no different from creating grudge with half of the forces in the Grace Mainland. Who dares, you say? If they are invincible experts, they won't lay their eyes on these herbs. The low-level thieves don't dare to come. So, even if they don't set any barriers here, it's safe enough. Shi Yang blamed himself for the stupid question. During the mountaineering, Shi Yang didn't say any useless words. Half a day later, after they had passed hundreds of spiritual fields, Shi Yang and Cherry were about to reach the peak of the Flying Cloud Summit. At this moment, a clear but cold voice arose although there were no other people on the road. Intruders, who are you? Haven't you heard the notice? Within 3 years, no one can enter the Flying Cloud Summit. Didn't you bring your brain with you? Cherry reddened embarrassedly. She bowed her head, not daring to answer because she was frightened. Shi Yang's eyes lit up. He laughed slightly. Lin Xiaomai, long time no see. Well, do you want to stop your friends who have crossed a long way to get here at the door? He recognized the one who was talking with them from a secret place somewhere was Lin Yaqi, who used to visit the Endless Sea. The little girl with a big bosom was Yi Changfeng's older sister. You are, that be ** starred Shi Yang? Lin Yhe contemplated for a while. Seemed she was trying to remember the identity of the intruders. Later on, she smiled charmingly. Well, friends from the far land. You be 8-starred, weren't you staying in the Endless Sea? Why did you leave that place and come to the Grace mainland? Why are you here? In the middle of the giggling, a thick magma dike split open. Lin Yhe appeared in a white light. She looked at him from above and chuckled. You're strong indeed. Well, since you can come here, you should have some good tricks. Shi Yang felt a little bit funny. Yi Chang Feng gave me the token. He told me to visit the Spirit Potion Valley and show them the token. They would take me here. Alright, where is my buddy Yi Chang Feng? Oh, I almost forgot. Lin Yhe spatted her head. She snorted, don't mention that little B** starred. He seized the chance our teacher was secluding and cultivating to sneak out and have fun somewhere. I haven't seen him for almost 1 year. Our teacher said that after he finished his cultivating period this time, he would give him a good lesson. I want to meet Elder Li. Is it convenient? Shi Yang's face was solemn. I have something I want to ask him. Lin Yhe's expression showed that it was a bit difficult. Our teacher is still cultivating. He said that no one is allowed to bother him. Well, if it's you, I can notify him. But I'm not sure he could meet you immediately. Shi Yang smiled and nodded. Okay. Get in. Have some tea and take a rest. Lin Yhe waved her hand. Then her look shifted to Cherry. Who's that? Your woman. TSK, you fella are a real womanizer. Wherever you go, you have pretty chicks to be your company. Such a B** starred. Cherry blushed, throwing Shi Yang a strange look, shaking her head to explain. No. I'm not his woman. I am from the Spirit Hall. Spirit Hall? Lin Yhe's face got colder. She answered arrogantly. Sorry. This is not the place you should be. You should return using the old way. Although she's from the Spirit Hall, she's my woman, too. Don't talk too much, I'm tired. This trip has been long enough. You should bring me tea quickly. Shi Yang said with a natural face, smiled, then pulled Cherry's small hand, walking toward Lin Yhe. Cherry reddened. She tried to wiggle a bit. However, since she had a desire for this holy land, the Flying Cloud Summit, she didn't struggle too much as she let Shi Yang grab her hand, walking forward with her head bent down. You should have said it earlier. Lin Yhe rolled her eyes at him and then let them pass. I know it. You be *starred aren't a good man. You tease the flowers and the moon everywhere. Never have a moment to calm down. My little brother told me that you weren't a good guy in the dark magnetic noxious mist too. You seemed to have an ambiguous relationship with a woman of the Aroke family. Mother ***. That kid has slandered me. Shi Yang wore an angry expression, scolding the other. Chapter 537, Li Zhangrong. Chapter 537, Li Zhangrong. Inside the Flying Cloud Summit's mountainside, there were many large stone chambers that could be seen. Multicolored gems were inlaid on the wall, illuminating the whole room as bright as daylight. Although they were in the mountainside, it didn't look dark at all. Air flowed everywhere, together with the dense spiritual qi. Strange and miraculous herbs were present in the stone chambers, kept in special containers. There were some tools holding the fresh, green leaves, and they seemed to be still growing. There was a spacious room as big as a basketball court, matted with thick rugs, where an incense burner was exuding fragrant smoke. The room had its wall carved with many magical spiritual formation and spells. Different colored flows of spiritual qi were moving slowly inside the formations, looking like some snakes slithering. Shi Yang and Cherry were seated in this large stone room. Lin Yhe gave them some good tea with a smile. Hey, you, why do you want to visit the Dead Soul Mountain? I heard that your Endless Sea has had a big change. Why don't you stay there? The threats in the Endless Sea were solved. Within 100 years, members of the Fourth Demon Area and the Seven-Layered Underworld won't come back to the Endless Sea. The Sea Tribes are fine, too. I don't need to worry about them. Shi Yang smiled as he sipped his tea. And you, when we were in the middle of the dark magnetic noxious mist, why did you disappear? I was going with my teacher, so I didn't have time to visit those two exotic lands. Lin Yaq's beautiful eyes brightened as she said suddenly. I heard that you had a big catch in the exotic lands of the dark magnetic noxious mist. Could you show me some? Let me get the profit at your expense too. Well, Elder Li takes a good care of you. Why do you bother with my small toys? Don't tease me. Shi Yang shook his head, his face serious. Hey, please notify Elder Li, tell him that I want to ask him for a favor. Hearing him say so, Lin Yaqi didn't continue to be lengthy. She nodded and said, make yourself home. I'm going to report to my teacher. Yes. Lin Yaqi swayed her body, entering a bright-lit channel which led into the mountain wall. She disappeared shortly. Shi Yang took in his tea while watching the walls with great interest. Sometimes, he shifted his eyes to Cherry, looking pensive. After they got in this room, Cherry hadn't spoken a word as she put all of her attention to the spiritual formation on the walls. Her eyes brightened, as if she had found the hidden treasures. She was trying to memorize them all, not wanting to leave even a single formation. Cough cough. Shi Yang let out a light cough. After he successfully received Cherry's attention, he beamed a faint smile and then probed. You seem to be interested in those formations a lot. Do they give you any clues for your medicine refining job? Cherry's soft body shivered. Her blue eyes twinkled beautifully as she nodded earnestly. Of course. Those spiritual formations are the ways the alchemists transport their soul consciousness, and that's how the medicine revolves during the process. They include the most mysterious intent domain of an alchemist. If I can comprehend the subtle features of this magical formation, my attainment will enter a new stage immediately. Shi Yang was amazed. Cherry explained him quickly. When the alchemists refine pellets, we have to pour our soul consciousness into the cauldron, using it to carve the spiritual spell that activates the herbs and promotes their efficacy. A magical formation or spell is the most important link in refining medicine. If this link doesn't work or fails, even if you have good ingredients, you are just wasting them. When an alchemist understands the formation or the spell thoroughly, not only can he save the herbs, but also increase the power of the medicinal efficacy of the pellet. Thus, an excellent alchemist should have a deep understanding about the marvelous formations with a high realm. So, what's your realm? Shi Yang asked with surprise. Me. Cherry forced a smile, shaking her head. I'm bad. Even my teacher Jia Lin doesn't know many formations, and he couldn't understand them thoroughly either. The alchemists like Elder Li are familiar with the spiritual formations and spells, which helps them promote the effect of the pellets to the peak. After Cherry finished her explanation, she continued gazing at the spiritual formations on the wall, not caring about him anymore. People who could meet Li Zhengrong were all the peak warriors of the Grace Mainland or the excellent alchemists. Even Jia Lin hadn't had the chance to visit this place. It was hard for Cherry to have this chance. She was willing to let Lin Yaqi misunderstand her so she could have a chance to look at those formations. To alchemists who were passionate in refining medicines, the spiritual formations on the walls here were the biggest treasure. It was similar to the martial techniques of the warriors. As long as she could understand them, her career would be widened and brighter. If she could make it smooth, she could enter a new realm as well. Shi Yang wasn't an alchemist, so it was hard for him to understand her persistence. Seeing her focus on studying the magical formation, he didn't bother her more, just letting her absent-mindedly look at the wall. 1 hour later, Lin Yaqi got back to the room. She stood at the entrance of the channel, waving at Shi Yang to signal him to come alone. Shi Yang stood up, and he noticed that Cherry didn't realize his activity as she was still paying her full attention to the wall. While smiling, he tiptoed towards Lin Yaqi as he was afraid that he would bother the girl. Then, he walked with Lin Yaqi into the quiet stony cave. After they had left for a while, Lin Yaqi cocked her head and rolled her eyes at him. You really care about that woman, right? Not only you took her here, but also don't want to disturb her. Spit it out honestly, what is the relationship between you two? She's my woman. I told you, right? Devil buys it. When you took her hand, she was startled. It isn't natural at all. Do you think that I didn't see that? So, why didn't you comment at that time? Because I had to give you face. ****, you don't appreciate me at all, do you? Ah, no. Thank you. Then tell me, what's the relationship between you two? Nothing. The Spirit Hall assigned her to take me to the Flying Cloud Summit. She took care of me along the way. She wanted to visit the place, so I played the good guy's role and gave her a hand. Lin Yaqi was naive and innocent. It seemed she was interested in the affectionate relationship between men and women. Along the way there, she continually asked him about it. She even probed Shi Yang's private affairs, asking him how many women he had been with. This irritated Shi Yang. As they had just finished halfway, Shi Yang decided to zip his mouth. No matter what she inquired, he kept his mouth shut. Lin Yaqi clenched her teeth, rolling her eyes at him angrily. I'm just curious. Can't you satisfy my little curiosity for a while? You know, my evil master controls me tightly. That brat Yi Chang Feng often has chances to get out. But I don't have his big guts. I'm lonely here. It's so boring. Shi Yang was surprised for a while. Your teacher doesn't allow you to go out. In my realm, when he doesn't ask me to go out, I'm forbidden. Lin Yaqi drooped her head, her face dispirited. Wait until you reach the third sky of Sky Realm, and your alchemist attainment reaches the profound level. I'll let you go out for 3 years. A leisurely, friendly laughter came from behind the wall in front of them. The wall then split open, revealing a tunnel decorated with gems. All of them were sparkling dazzlingly. Hurry up. The evil old man heard us. Lin Yaqi tucked her tongue out, speeding her pace swiftly forward. Shi Yang followed her. Inside a spacious cave, he saw more than 10 cauldrons with different sizes and colors. Mysterious patterns were carved on the cauldrons that looked more like the tadpole scripts. More than 10 cauldrons occupied half of the space in the cave. Outside the place, there were piles of bottles, jars, and containers which were full of spiritual herbs. In the center of the cauldron area lied a fat man with a lazy appearance. He was fat like a small mountain of meat. The man squinted his small eyes, beaming a smile that seemed to be of no harm to any creature. He smiled at Shi Yang, then slightly raised his arm. Little buddy, you are Shi Yang? Thank you for your drop of life original fluid. Haha, you came from the endless sea. You're my distinguished guest. Li Zhangrong moved his body, reluctantly leaning against a big cauldron to sit up. He smiled awkwardly. I'm too fat. It's hard to move, and I'm lazy to exercise, too. If I can sit, I won't stand. If I can lay down, I won't sit. Many years ago, I used my body to test the drugs I refined. At that time, my realm wasn't high enough, so among the medicines I refined, many of them didn't meet the standard. I took them too much and got sick. Now, I'm getting fatter over time. Big headache. Elder Li, just make yourself comfortable. No need to mind me. Shi Yang smiled friendly. He then walked leisurely to each of the cauldrons to take a look. After that, he asked the fat man with great surprise. These cauldrons show your progress of refining, right? Light shimmered from Li Zhangrong's small eyes while his fat face trembled. He laughed cheerily. Why you ask so? He seemed to study Shi Yang, as if the young man had just touched his interest. His small eyes became livelier. When Elder Li refined pellets those old years, I guess you had used the biggest cauldron. Shi Yang said with a solemn face, walking to that cauldron. At that time, your realm wasn't high enough, which made you dependent on the tools. And, your knowledge of refining pellets wasn't sufficient. That's why you needed a big cauldron to carve the formation to promote the efficacy of the herbs. As your realm improved, your understanding of spiritual formation and the attainment became more brilliant. Later on, you realized that the cauldron was just a container during the medicinal refining process. Then, you didn't use the big cauldrons anymore, but started to comprehend a higher Upanishad of refining method. Since that time, you'd started to use the smaller cauldrons. When Elder Li's realm reached the peak, you didn't need the cauldron anymore. You only used the fiery flame in your body to refine the earth-shaking pellets. At that moment, Elder Li was no longer dependent on using cauldrons. You've become a great master. Naturally, you don't need to use the external tools anymore. Now, you are using your body as the cauldron, your soul consciousness to be the leading medicine to gather and condense the heaven and earth aura, which could promote the efficacy of the herbs to the acme. This is the top realm of medicinal refining. Kid, you do have good knowledge. Li Zhangrong's small eyes brightened. He nodded continually, trying to clap his fat hands. He seemed to reassess Shiyang. No wonder why that buddy Chang Feng told me you aren't ordinary. Although our little *shoal's a bit stubborn, he still has good knowledge. As I've met you today, I finally get it. Shiyang smiled modestly. I'm not going to go around the bush. I'm coming here today to ask you to help me take a friend of mine back from the Pure Land. I can use the life original fluid to exchange. Li Zhangrong was astounded for a while. Eventually, he sat upright and said seriously, no matter what you offer, the Pure Land won't return your friend. I'm sure about this. Chapter 538, She's Really Great. Chapter 538, She's Really Great. Shiyang's face darkened in the middle of the room full of cauldrons. Lin Yaqi was astounded. She hesitated for a while then asked, Master, last time you told us that the life original fluid is very precious. Isn't it enough to exchange for that woman? Nothing can exchange for her, Li Zhangrong sighed. 1 year ago, Elder Jin Chuang of the Pure Land came to me. He asked me to help them refine the levitating immortal pill for that little girl. It's not easy to refine the levitating immortal pill. It needs so many types of spiritual herbs. Many of them aren't available. They need to search for them in other regions. They are scarce in our divine great land, too. Levitating immortal pill? Lin Yaqi wore a surprised face. She tucked her tongue out. The Pure Land's really a big spender. Is the levitating immortal pill precious? Shiyang frowned. The levitating immortal pill is the pill to enhance the profound qi. 1 pellet of the levitating immortal pill can make a first sky of Sky Realm warrior earn the profound qi density of a second sky of Sky Realm. The levitating immortal pill needs 97 rare herbs of medium grade and a rare water spirit. The process is really complicated, and the failure possibility is high too. A cauldron of levitating immortal pill with abundant herbs, refined by a sacred level alchemist, could produce only 5 pellets with the number of herbal ingredients required for 100 pellets, explained Lin Yaqi. Shiyang was dumbstruck. Putting ingredients for 100 pellets, but it could produce only 5. It was tough to refine the levitating immortal pill, indeed. At that time, I asked Jin Chuang what did they need the levitating immortal pill for. He told me they wanted to improve the strength of that little girl. Since my relationship with Jin Chuang isn't shallow, he told me that the reincarnation martial spirit of that little girl has the soul memories of some previous generations. They took the girl to the Pure Land and sensed. Finally, they found that little girl's soul memories have the memories of an ancestor of the Pure Land who lived in the Antiquity era, said Li Zhangrong. Shiyang's face changed. I heard Yi Chang Feng say that she has just a soul imprint of an ancestor of the Pure Land in her memory. Is it true? It's the memory of the latest generation. Li Zhangrong took a deep breath. Seniors of the Pure Land usually have the spirit realm cultivation base. They aren't too dangerous. However, the ancestors of the Pure Land in the Antiquity era had the God King realm cultivation base. That little girl's realm and powers aren't high enough to restore all the memories of that ancestor. That's why Jin Chuang's group had to rush and be excited at the same time. They really want to increase her strength. Pausing for a while, Li Zhangrong continued, once that little girl reaches the true God realm, she will gradually recall the martial Upanishads of the realm related to that ancestor in the Antiquity era. As long as she has enough essence qi to support, her cultivating path will have no significant obstacles. She will go directly to the God King realm. At last, when she reaches the true God realm, she can remember the Upanishads of the techniques of the God King realm warrior. At that time, she will become the most precious treasure of the Pure Land that can benefit all their warriors. Shiyang's brows slammed together. He kept silent. I can only say that that little girl's too lucky, and her good fortunes boundless. You should feel happy for her. Those people from the Pure Land had intended to use the secret treasures to help that ancestor's soul replace her soul directly. However, thanks to her fate, no one dares to do that in the Pure Land. Now, she can keep her soul and use the properties of the Pure Land to cultivate and break through with unimaginable speed non-stop. That Pure Land's ancestor's soul won't replace hers. No, it won't. You can relax. It's been tens of thousands of years. That ancestor's soul will soon be scattered. The only things that remain are the deep understandings of the martial arts. So, your little girl can keep her soul, and she can seize the chance to thrive directly. Shi Yang was stunned, but now he could relax his tense nerves. All experts of the Pure Land are protecting her as if she's their most precious treasure. All cultivating resources in that sect are available for her. As long as she can absorb the pellets, which could increase her essence chi, they will give them all to her. They need her to progress to the highest realm within the shortest time. Li Zhangrong sighed, then shook his head. That little girl's so lucky that I have no words to comment. When Jin Chuang came here, she was at the second sky of Sky Realm. It's been 1 year, and with the Pure Land's resources, I think they have some other alchemists to refine the levitating immortal pellet for her. I think she should be in the spirit realm now. With the sufficient supply of pellets to increase her essence chi and the advantage of having no obstacles hinder her way, she will progress significantly daily. Shi Yang was frightened. He had assumed that his cultivating speed was the extreme one in this world, but now Li Zhangrong had told him that Xia Xinyang's progress was much faster than his. He and Xia Xinyang were two extreme beings indeed. On his cultivating path, he didn't need to worry about the supply of essence chi. He just needed the essence chi of the dead warriors after slaughtering them to be purified by his mysterious martial spirit. His essence chi would increase unceasingly. His essence chi was always ahead of his realm. Xia Xinyang's case was different. She didn't need to worry about her realm. What she had to care was to make sure that her essence chi could match up with her realm, which would help her break through constantly, without having the bottleneck like other warriors. Her way would be straight and smooth. One wouldn't need to worry about the amount of essence chi and the other wouldn't be bothered with the realm. The cultivating path of these two was marvelous indeed. You don't need to worry about her. To her, staying in the Pure Land only benefits her. No harm at all. All experts of the Pure Land treat her as the most precious treasure of theirs. She's the queen on the Pure Land's chessboard now. If she continues to thrive this way, one day, she will become the paragon of the Pure Land, and the future master of the divine Great Land. She will reach the God King realm at that time. I think it won't take more than 50 years later, Li Zhangrong admired. YL was stunned. 50 years. She needs only 50 years. The Pure Land is constantly collecting the pellets to increase her cultivation base. She doesn't need to worry about that, just take the chance and take them in. Well, that little girl's a little monster. Li Zhangrong shook his head, his face longing. Shi Yang, your pressure is huge. Lin Yaqi was stunned for a long while before she spoke up again. That woman will become the peerless expert of the whole continent. As her good friend, have you prepared yourself well? Will you feel small? Will you feel that you don't deserve her? It's normal, I guess. There's no one in the divine Great Land can be paired with her. TSK, hold your emotion and go with the flow. Shi Yang felt big pressure, indeed. But he was both happy and anxious at the same time. He had never thought that Xia Xinyang could have a sudden opportunity. When he had first entered the Endless Sea, he had told her firmly that he would surpass her soon to be with her officially. Well, from the current situation, this process would be lengthened to infinity. It was uncertain whether he could achieve his dream in this life or not. Li Zhangrong and Lin Yaqi didn't talk more, looking at him with sympathy in their eyes. In fact, they all knew the relationship between Shi Yang and Xia Xinyang. To men, when their women, the ones they had their hearts and souls fallen for, had reached the sky with a single bounce and became the strongest warrior, they would have to face a huge pressure. If his will weren't firm enough, he would find it hard to continue to break through due to this kind of pressure. Shi Yang's eyes lit up. He pondered for a while then asked, Can I meet her in the Pure Land? They will not allow it. Li Zhangrong shook his head. This period is the critical time for her to grow up. The Pure Land won't allow anyone to disturb her. I suggest that you shouldn't meet her at this time. On the one hand, it will increase your pressure. On the other hand, it can affect her spirit and soul, too. No matter it's for you or for her, it's better not to meet up at this time. Shi Yang felt lost. He sighed, unable to cry or smile. It was a big pressure indeed. Master, the dead souls often cooperate these days. I've met a lot of them in the region. They are so many. Do you think they have a leader now? Lin Yaqi was kind enough to change the topic, as she was afraid that Shi Yang would feel hurt more. They often cooperate. Li Zhangrong's small eyes flashed. How often? Yeah. When I came here, I found a cave where many dead souls gathered. There should be hundreds of them. I'm sure there's a high-level dead soul behind the scene. Shi Yang walked out of his loss feeing and intervened them. Hundreds of dead souls. Li Zhangrong's visage changed. So many of them there like that. Yeah, in a cave. The dead souls stick on the walls were as dense as spider webs. Deep inside the cave lied a chunk of meat. It was dark green too. Its roots pierced into the dead bodies of so many warriors. I think it was sucking the nutrition from those bodies. It looked so strange, explained Shi Yang. Li Zhangrong shot up from his seat. It was the first time he wore a frightened countenance. You saw a dark green block of meat. It was sucking the nutrition from the warriors' bodies. Are you sure? Of course, I'm sure. Not good. Li Zhangrong was panicked. His face changed. Big problem. What's happened? Where did you find them? Under the shade of a mountain. Go. Take me there. Immediately. Why you are so hurried? We can't waste even a second. Li Zhangrong shouted, then assigned Lin Yaqi. You shouldn't stay here. Go to the Spirit Potion Valley and report what Shi Yang had said to the people of the Spirit Hall. Ask them to notify the other elders. What's wrong? Don't ask too much. Do what I said first. Li Zhangrong acted as if he had a fire burning his butt. He talked to Shi Yang urgently. Take me there. We'll go immediately. I'm not sure if we can seize the chance. Shi Yang felt suspicious. He didn't know what was going on, but from Li Zhangrong's complexion, he knew something terrible was about to happen. At this moment, he was more determined, and didn't say any extra words. He nodded to Li Zhangrong and flew out of the flying cloud summit at the max speed, heading towards the cave where the dead souls had gathered. Chapter 539. Great changes are approaching. Chapter 539. Great changes are approaching. As soon as Li Zhangrong left the flying cloud summit, he couldn't wait and grabbed Shi Yang, then shot out at a speed as fast as the light of the galaxy streamer. It was a bit rough to Shi Yang, making his breathing quite difficult. At this moment, Shi Yang knew that Li Zhangrong had lied to him the whole time, saying that his body was too fat to move conveniently. Although Li Zhangrong hadn't broken through to the true god realm, once he ran at max speed, he was like a meteor chasing after the moon, extremely fast. He and Cherry had spent 3.5 days to reach the flying cloud summit from the Dead Souls Cave without a rest stop along the way. However, it took Li Zhangrong only 2 hours in bringing him to the target place, the cave where the dead souls gathered, under his navigation. Right when the fat Li Zhangrong arrived, he took out an emerald armor, which looked like a stream of water flowing around his outfit. Green waves were rippling on it. This was a sacred-level secret treasure with water attribute. After he got into the cave under the shade of the mountain, Li Zhangrong's small eyes got colder. His face darkened as he said glumly, "We're late." The cave was empty. No dead souls remained, neither did a single blade of grass. The green dot that looked sinister and gloomy on the wall were all gone too. Only the cold, strange aura stayed. It's been just 3 days. Shi Yang walked to the deepest area of the cave, searching carefully. He pointed at a concave area. I saw the green meat block here. I'm sure that I wasn't hallucinating. Li Zhangrong didn't doubt him as he nodded. I trust you. His brows furrowed tightly, revealing a seriousness he had never revealed before. He walked back and forth inside the cave many times. His small eyes were as bright as two dazzling diamonds in this gloomy cave. Afterward, Li Zhengrong exhaled begrudgingly. Big troubles. What has happened? Shi Yang didn't understand. There must be a big change in those dead souls. Li Zhengrong turned around, contemplated for a while, and then explained, 40 years ago, a formidable dead soul had appeared in the dead soul's evil lairs. We had joined hands with the Pure Land, the Devil Valley, and the Radiant God cult to kill that dead soul. In that battle, many spirit realm experts from the Pure Land, the Devil Valley, and the Radiant God cult died. Their souls were dragged into the dead soul's evil lairs. A warrior of the Devil Valley, thanks to his bizarre soul technique, could endure for a short while in the evil lair. Before he lost his mind, he reminded us not to let the dead soul give birth to an entity at any cost. At his last moment before turning into a dead soul, he said that the dead souls have some secret method that uses the warrior's dead bodies to nurture their entity. Once a high-level dead soul could have a body, its power would increase tremendously. And, its cultivation base would be enhanced several times stronger. Shi Yang discolored. The Sky Realm warriors can't deal with the typical dead souls. A relatively high-level dead soul can toy the spirit realm experts in its hands. Regarding this max-level dead soul, only the true God Realm warriors can save their souls from the erosive power. If you want to destroy it, you have to use the secret treasures with the lightning attribute. When the max-level dead souls have a body, they will be complete. At that time, they won't need to depend on the dead soul's evil lair anymore. They can leave the evil lair and it will be a big catastrophe of the Dead Soul mountain range. This can even spread to the divine Great Land. Li Zhengrong was anxious and kept sighing. Shi Yang kept silent, not saying a word. I have to contact the experts in the mountain range shortly and notify the elders of the Pure Land, the Radiant God cult, and the Devil Valley. Before that dead soul completes its body, we should destroy the chunk of meat that could become its body. We can't linger even a second. Li Zhengrong pondered and then suggested, you should leave the Dead Soul mountain range as soon as possible. I think it would be very dangerous in the coming time. The dead souls know what that body means to them, so they will protect it with all of their abilities. The Dead Soul mountain range will have a big battle, in which I don't know how many would die. Sigh. Too bad I haven't entered the true God realm yet. I still need 1 more year. This event has happened before time. I got it, Shi Yang replied naturally. Yeah, at first, you can go to the Spirit Potion Valley or the Precious Tool Valley. But you shouldn't stay there for long. Li Zhengrong was worried as if he had a flame burning his heart, and didn't dilly-dally. I should prepare immediately. About that little girl, you shouldn't be hurried. It's useless to be anxious, too. I think you can wait for the right time. Even if you don't find her, she will come to you. You two still have time to meet. Then, Li Zhengrong left quickly. It seemed he wanted to check the caves around the area to see if he could find the gathering point of the dead souls. The Dead Soul mountain range had almost 1,000 mountains, situated in a vast area. Not all the dead souls were stupid. When they knew they should hide their auras, they would be more careful. Shi Yang thought his search would be negative, and that he couldn't find the new gathering spot of the dead soul in just a short time. After Li Zhengrong left, Shi Yang didn't linger. He pondered, then decided to return to the Spirit Potion Valley and the Precious Tool Valley. He could ask for more details and traces there to keep track of this strange event. 3 days later, he came back to the Spirit Potion Valley, but didn't go to the Spirit Hall right away. He made a tour around the Spirit Potion Valley and then headed to the Precious Tool Valley. The Precious Tool Valley and the Spirit Potion Valley were neighbors. There were shops that sold the materials for forging treasure around the place. People in the Precious Tool Valley were all blacksmiths. In the Precious Tool Valley, they also had the same structure as the Spirit Hall, which was called the Tool Hall, managed by some sacred-level blacksmiths of the Dead Soul mountain range. After he arrived the Precious Tool Valley, he visited each store to find some strange spirit crystals. Little buddy, you've been wandering half a day already but you haven't bought anything yet. You don't like anything in my store? In a ware shop named Universe, The owner was a third sky of Nirvana realm warrior with messy hair, a red nose, and opaque, squinted eyes just like he was still sleepy-headed. The owner had looked at Shi Yang for half a day. Eventually, he couldn't help but ask him, "Hey shopkeeper, are there any blacksmiths in the Precious Tool Valley who know how to use the magical formation?" Shi Yang leaned against a shelf, smiled and asked him. "What's that formation?" asked the owner. "Teleporting type." The shop owner was astounded. Afterward, he smiled oddly and said, "Friend, have you just arrived the Dead Soul Mountain range?" "Yes. The blacksmiths who could build the teleporting formation are really amazing. In the Dead Soul Mountain range, there are several who know how to make this formation. If you want to find them, go to the Tool Hall. I think the elders should know something about it. Anyway, it cost a fortune to build the teleportation formation. First, you will need the nether crystal. I hear that the nether crystals exist only in some space cracks. They are so rare. Really tough to find." Shi Yang was startled. That year when he had entered the Chasm Abyss battlefield through the teleport formation, he had seen the scenes changing unceasingly. That ancient teleportation array had left a deep impression on him. In the Endless Sea, the Three God Sect and the Young family also had a small-scale teleportation formation. Although the distance was limited, Shi Yang knew how important it was to a strong force. He wanted to build a big teleportation formation that could connect the Ice Emperor City and possibly, forming the connection with the Endless Sea in the future. That's why he wanted to find an excellent blacksmith to buy a teleportation formation. From the shopkeeper's explanation, he got to know that the blacksmiths who could build the array were rare. He bid farewell to the shop owner and then spent another 2 days in the Precious Tool Valley to ask for the information from other blacksmiths. But he couldn't find anyone who knew the method to build the formation. All the blacksmiths he had asked told him that only the elders of the Tool Hall knew how to build the teleportation formation. When he told him that the formation he wanted to build should be able to teleport through the sea, the blacksmiths looked at him as if they were looking at a monster. They then told him clearly that even the elders of the Tool Hall could only build small-scaled formations, which could transport to 10,000 li at maximum. Beyond this distance, it would be quite tough. Shi Yang was totally disappointed. He then borrowed a small gravitational room in the Tool Hall to train his body, trying to drain the mysterious energy in his muscles in the 40 times heavier gravity room. He hoped that he could maximize his bearing capacity. Time flew fast, as 10 days passed like a blink of an eye. He had exhausted himself in the gravitational room. Thoughts flickered in his head as he recalled the experience in blacksmithing of the blacksmith from the Ice-Cold Flames memories. The related secrets of refining treasures were moving in his head like three-dimension pictures. After searching for half a day, he still couldn't find any memories related to the teleportation formation. He felt dispirited as he opened his eyes wider while sinking into his thought. Blacksmith's secrets of success. After a while, Shi Yang's eyes brightened. He shot up from his seat. He suddenly recalled the ancient book he had gotten from the mysterious exotic land, The Blacksmith's Secrets of Success. That mysterious land had so many rare treasures. In the center of the 2 galaxies, he got that book, which had some seal he couldn't open. It seemed the Blacksmith's Secrets of Success was really old and mysterious. Perhaps, it would have the method to build the ancient transmission formation. The ancient teleport formation was a big-sized one, as it could transport things over a big distance. If he had the method to build the formation, he would gather the materials and do it himself. His mind flickered and the Blacksmith's Secrets of Success flew out from the storage ring, floating in front of him. The 4 big words written in ancient calligraphy on the cover sparkled. He reached out his left hand and gently put it on the Blacksmith's Secret of Success. A vehement shiver rippled from the book, creating a strong force that pushed his hand aside. He then urged his soul consciousness. However, he was pushed back by a soul energy before he could reach the book. It repeated several times and he still didn't know how to access the book. You can't access this thing simply. This book comes from the Antiquity era. You need to use the soul dividing technique, which also comes from the Antiquity time, to open the book. The ice-cold flame turned into a beautiful white light, emerging from the blood vein ring and sending him its thoughts. Chapter 540, Soul Dividing. Chapter 540, Soul Dividing. Soul Dividing Technique. It was a secret technique of the experts in the antiquity time. This technique would divide the host soul into parts. When they forged the puppet, they would put a part of their host soul into it. This would make the puppet have the soul and memory imprints of the owner, which would help it to perform as marvelously as its master. The secret weapons of a great blacksmith or a warrior required a part of the soul pouring in to be opened. As long as he had his soul enter the tools and the books, he could officially control the tools and read the books. It wasn't hard to learn how to divide the host soul. However, most of the techniques were lost. Only some members of the old factions knew how to do that. The ice-cold flame showed itself and then lectured Shi Yang about the subtle features of the soul-dividing technique, then continued, "This book should come from the antiquity era too. If you want to access it, you have to divide your soul and put your part into the book. Otherwise, you can't see the miraculous contents inside." Shi Yang was surprised. He pondered, then smiled. "Do you know the soul-dividing technique?" "A little bit." "Tell me." "Well, I just know the surface of the technique, which can't help you refine a clone. But to open this old book, it's not too difficult." "Then don't babble more." "All right." The ice-cold flame regarded him. It thought for a while, then connected its soul to Shi Yang's. Then, the flame found the secret techniques related to the soul-dividing method, turning them into the memory fluctuations and transmitting them into Shi Yang's head. To practice the soul-dividing technique, at first, he needed to train his host soul, making it disappear and then reorganize. During the time the host soul got mutated, he would use a special method to draw a beam of the soul. That beam then would be nurtured in the sea of consciousness, using the power of the soul consciousness to keep it warm. After a while, it would grow into a feeble hollow soul. The hollow soul wasn't the host soul, as it was just a projection of the latter. So, it didn't have the attainments of the host soul. When the hollow soul was destroyed, it didn't affect the host soul. However, it had a connection with the host soul. No matter how far the hollow soul was, the host soul would always know its position and everything it had experienced. There were some other ways to strengthen the hollow soul. For example, he could collect the murderous aura, the yin qi, or other bizarre energy in heaven and earth. If the hollow soul could grow non-stop to a certain level, when it stayed in the puppet or the clone, it could urge the power of the host soul. When the hollow soul reached the highest level, it could even replace the host soul. The ice-cold flame knew how to divide the soul and train the hollow soul. However, its knowledge in cultivating the hollow soul wasn't enough to practice. To Shi Yang, at this moment, he just needed to create the hollow soul. He didn't hurry, using the method to start to cultivate his host soul step by step. Firstly, he would nurture his soul with the nutrients from the soul consciousness, which would promote the change of the host soul. When his host soul was strong enough, he could divide it. In the gravitational room, he stopped training his body and started to sink into the cultivation of dividing his soul. The Spirit Potion Valley. Recently, many experts from the Pure Land, the Radiant God Cult, the Devil Valley showed up in the area. They were rushing with gloomy faces. In the Precious Potion Valley, some famous alchemists of the Divine Greatland were affected. They often walked back and forth in the valley. Sometimes, they sighed begrudgingly. Although many low-level warriors in the Dead Soul Mountain range didn't know what was happening, they vaguely felt the danger like a breeze before a big storm. People who knew the secret told their disciples and friends silently. Some warriors who had regularly visited the Spirit Potion Valley and the Precious Tool Valley left the area without leaving any trace. They didn't dare to stay in the Dead Soul Mountain range for any longer. For the time being, while so many low-level warriors left the Spirit Potion Valley, many big characters whom they had rarely seen in daily life came to the place. More and more people recognized that the Dead Soul Mountain range was about to face a big event. Inside the Spirit Hall, 5 people, including Li Zhongrong, Zhongmu, Kuan Shi, Gari Jie, and Mike, all wore a glum countenance. As the 5 sacred level alchemists behind the Spirit Hall, among them, Li Zhongrong was the focus of the public attention. He was the person who had the real power of the Dead Soul Mountain range. All alchemists had to admire and bow to him. Old Li, still nothing? Zhongmu turned the ring on his finger, staring at the other agitatedly. It had been half a month. Many experts had searched and raked through all the areas which had the Dead Soul's evil lairs in the Dead Soul mountain range. They were trying to find the gathering spot of the Dead Souls and destroy that chunk of meat before it gave birth to the body of the Dead Soul. However, half a month had passed, but the Dead Souls which often appeared everywhere in the mountain range seemed to have all disappeared. Seeing time flying fast and the entire community of the Dead Souls secluding, Zhongmu's mood became worse. During the battle dozens of years ago, Zhongmu was still a profound-level alchemist. In that battle, his teacher was killed in the hands of an intimidating Dead Soul. His soul was dragged out, drawn into an evil lair, and then disappeared. That year, Zhongmu had had only the Sky Realm cultivation base. He had no choice but to stare at the scene where his teacher's soul was drawn out. That battle had left a deep shadow in his heart. Until now, every time he recalled that battle, he felt fear inside. He had a deep grudge against the Dead Souls, and always wanted to kill all the Dead Souls in the Dead Soul mountain range. All have disappeared. I think the Dead Souls have gained experience. Certainly, there's a strong Dead Soul behind them. Otherwise, the situation would be totally different. Li Zhongrong's body had a lot of fat. When he talked, even the fat on his cheeks trembled. The Tool Hall is working on it too. I guess they have no findings either. Or else, they would have already told us. Seems the big change's coming. Kuan Shi was as thin as a stick, his face sinister and vicious. Sharp light sparked in his eyes. Don't know how many people would die this time. You guys, we're sitting here now, but we're not sure who could survive. After he talked, everybody became more grimaced. You should seize the chance and impart your inheritance as soon as possible. Li Zhongrong's squinted eyes raked through the room. The Dead Soul mountain range's the place we have been invested with much effort. We will never abandon it. The situation this time will be different from last time. If those Dead Souls can nurture a real body, this will be a catastrophe. Even if we leave the Dead Soul mountain range, we won't be able to escape it. The other four nodded with a cold face. All of them knew the secret from dozens of years ago. They knew that the Dead Souls were dangerous. Once they gained a body, the power could rock it. At that time, the Dead Souls won't be dependent on the Dead Souls' evil lairs anymore. They could leave the Dead Soul mountain range and go to the divine Great Land. The lowest level Dead Souls had the ability to take the soul of the warriors easily. It was more like a piece of cake to the higher level Dead Souls. Once those dangerous Dead Souls could leave the Dead Soul mountain range and come to the divine Great Land, the warriors who didn't know about them beforehand wouldn't be able to resist. Their souls would be taken one after another, and they would become the new Dead Souls. At that time, the heaven and earth would have a big transformation. The Dead Souls would replace warriors and pollute this rich land, turning it into the world of Dead Souls. Thinking about the possible future, the five of them shivered without feeling cold. I've notified the leaders of the Pure Land, the Devil Valley, and the Radiant God Cult. Once the Dead Soul's real body appears, the leaders of these three forces will come to the Dead Soul mountain range, said Li Zhongrong with a low voice. The four of them relaxed a little bit. Kuan Shi hesitated, and couldn't help but ask, Old Li, where's the boy who found this mess? And, how is he related to you? Weren't you cultivating in seclusion? Why did you agree to meet him? How can I know where he is? Li Zhongrong snorted and continued impatiently. He has a connection with me. Kuan Shi and the others were astounded. They wanted to ask for more, but as they saw his winced face, they couldn't inquire further, shutting their mouths begrudgingly. Outside the spirit hall, Lin Yaqi was toying the potted flowers with her arrogant complexion. She asked coldly, Shi Yang didn't come for you? No. After I came back from the Flying Cloud Summit, I have never met him again. Cherry always lacked confidence facing her, as she felt that she was one grade lower than the other girl. Perhaps he has left the Dead Soul mountain range. Since they know a big disaster will come soon, anyone who can run has already run away. The ones who haven't moved yet are ready to move. Since Cherry knew the mutated dead souls would become more wild and sinister, she was afraid and wanted to leave too. Unfortunately, she was the hall guard of the spirit hall. Without the permission granted by one of the 5 of Li Zhongrong's group, no one was allowed to leave the spirit hall when the dead souls appeared. Once they were busted, their names would be erased from the spirit hall forever. Being an alchemist, it was okay not to join the spirit hall. But when the spirit hall erased one's name, his or her reputation was gone too. The community would scoff him as the worst among the alchemists. If he comes to see you, you must notify me. I have something I want to discuss with him. Lin Yaqi arched her brow. To make it up for you, about the formation you've seen in my place, if you have something you want I ask, I can help. Cherry's blue eyes brightened as she nodded continually. Gravitational chamber. Shi Yang sat emotionlessly just like a rock that hadn't moved for 10,000 years, still and quiet. During half a month in this gravitational room, he had been sinking into his mind, wholeheartedly focusing on training the hollow soul, and didn't relax for even a second. Just recently, with the soul-dividing technique the ice-cold flame passed him in a blurry state, he had successfully divided his soul, drawn out a strand of soul and created a phantom of his host soul in the sea of consciousness, the hollow soul. Right when the hollow soul appeared, he immediately urged the soul consciousness to keep the hollow soul warm. That vague hollow soul was like a projection. After it received the soul consciousness, it turned into another image of the host soul in the sea of consciousness. However, it didn't have the intellect and the vitality of the real host soul. More soul consciousness was poured into the hollow soul. After an unknown time, the hollow soul became clearer. Besides the lack of vitality, it looked similar to the host soul. At this moment, the ice-cold flame sent him a message. It's enough. You can access the blacksmith's secrets of success now. Shi Yang was struck. He started to guide the hollow soul, dragging it little by little out of the sea of consciousness. The spooky phantom was as vague as a ghost, with thick yin aura slowly appearing in front of his eyes. When the hollow soul got out of the sea of consciousness, it became fragile as if it were about to vanish. The hollow soul can't be exposed for a long time. Guide it to the ancient book immediately, or else, the hollow soul will vanish. The ice-cold flame reminded Shi Yang. Shi Yang's face changed. He didn't dare to observe more, took out the Book of Secrets and began his move. Chapter 541, Waste More Effort. Chapter 541, Waste More Effort. The hollow soul appeared as a thin grey smoke, floating and flying towards the blacksmith's secrets of success. It then disappeared silently, like a drop of water falling into the sea. Boom! He felt a rumbling tremor in his brain, after which, a wonderful feeling flooded his sea of consciousness. His sea of consciousness was as if it had a big crack, from where flows of soul consciousness streamed through, getting into the blacksmith's secrets of success and pouring directly into the hollow soul. A link was formed between the host soul and the hollow soul. The host soul was still submerged in the sea of consciousness, but it got all the things the hollow soul was watching. The hollow soul was floating in an immense area. There was a light road like an ecliptic soaring to a distant place. With the vision of the hollow soul, he found himself in a strange new world. That marvelous ecliptic was like the heaven staircase, leading to a faraway, mysterious place. Bright lights sparkled along the road. In the white void, big seals were tumbling like clusters of clouds. Strange, miraculous lights crossed each other, carving the ancient magical formations on those seals. Refining medicine and weapons were similar. The experts should understand the strange and mysterious formations. As long as they had a deep understanding of drawing those formations, they could improve their attainment in refining. Ancient formations along the ecliptic were shining dazzlingly. They were the explanation of the most important secrets of tool refining. Each of them was moving lively, as they were transferring the truth of heaven and earth. The meanings they were conveying were surreptitious, including types of power. Clusters of refining formations were spinning along the ecliptic road. All of them were explicit and radiant like the meteors. They kept changing, and didn't have a determined nature. The hollow soul stood at the beginning of the ecliptic. It didn't have any strange moves, and was absorbing the soul consciousness in his sea of consciousness really quickly. Within the short period of 3 breaths, flows of soul consciousness in his sea of consciousness were sucked out by 1/10, and the consumption speed was still increasing. Shi Yang was scared. He gathered all of his soul, spirit, and qi, quieting down his mind and letting aside the impure thoughts. He concentrated on the magical, mysterious formations on the sides of the light road. Each formation was a method to refine weapons. They were in many complicated shapes. They varied strangely, which was hard to learn in just a short time. Burn to separate water formation, the Grand Soul Gathering formation, Original Universe Life formation, 3 Soul Defense formation. Names of the formations crossed his head fast, and gave him a shallow understanding. Each formation was mysteriously unpredictable. At first glance, he thought they were so marvelous that he couldn't comprehend them in short time. Once those ancient formations were carved on the treasures, it would rocket the power of the weapons, giving them the special abilities or subtle powers. As long as he could gain the truth of those formations and use them fluently, a blacksmith only needed one of those formations to earn a great living. Each formation was vastly obscure, and he couldn't obtain in a short time. Many of those had been lost for thousands of years. Some names of the formations had been listed in the ancient books of the blacksmiths. They had only a name, without any particular details. However, in this wonderful space, these formations were changed, following the subtle changes of the heaven and earth. To comprehend the true meanings of the formation, the blacksmith needed to reach a certain realm. If he were careful and detailed to study them, he could have a good grasp of the real magical features of the formation. Refining weapons wasn't Shi Yang's life goal. Shi Yang delayed at the beginning of the ecliptic for a while. Then, his hollow soul turned into an incomplete silhouette, moving swiftly. Teleportation formation. Teleportation formation. He repeated the name in his head. The hollow soul didn't stop, continually moving on the light road. If it found that the formations around weren't the teleportation formation, it would retreat immediately and continue walking forward. At the same time, his soul consciousness was flooding over like a broken dike with amazing speed. While his soul was muddy, his hollow soul had a glimpse of a formation that looked like a cluster along the ecliptic. The drawings of that formation were clear, expanding like a spider web in the void. Beams of silver light interweaved. At each intersection, words written in ancient calligraphy flashed from time to time. Ethereal crystal, fine earthstone, golden gong bead. Rare ores float under the light intersections of the formation. They flashed, and then disappeared. On the cloud, rows of characters were arranged neatly, sparkling in a dark golden hue, and twinkling like stars. They decided the way to portray the mysteries of this formation. Teleportation formation. He wanted to check it out carefully, but he suddenly felt dizzy. His sea of consciousness trembled. Thud. The blacksmith's secrets of success dropped on the floor. Shi Yang woke up from his neat sitting position on the ground, sweat beading his face. He looked ashen and exhausted. His soul consciousness was consumed too much. The room was dark, but Shi Yang's pupils were shining with a divine light. He panted, but he was smiling brightly. Time wouldn't fail people who had high aspirations. The blacksmith's secrets of success did have the teleportation formation, not just a description, but a whole direct observation of the method. As long as he could understand the revolution maze of the formation and collect enough the tools and materials, even if building the teleportation formation was complicated, it wouldn't be too troublesome. However, the overconsumed soul consciousness was beyond his estimation. He had never thought that reading an ancient book, which had the weapon refining methods, could use up his soul consciousness that fast. At this moment, his sea of consciousness was empty. The area was reduced, no bigger than 1/4 of his previous area. The sea of consciousness seemed to have dried up. The host soul and the dormant 5 devils also looked dispirited. Both the host soul and the 5 devils depended on the sea of consciousness to live and cultivate. If the sea of consciousness were large, the host soul and the 5 devils would grow fast. If the sea of consciousness was narrow, the space the host soul and the 5 devils had for their cultivation would reduce, which would limit their growth. If his sea of consciousness went arid one day, the host soul and the 5 devils would bear the brunt, immediately being suffocated. To the host soul and the 5 devils, the sea of consciousness was the fountain of their beings. Without this origin of life, they couldn't survive for a long time. He felt dizzy while he was about to check out the miraculous features of the teleport formation. It was the sign of a dried sea of consciousness. As his host soul could feel the situation was wrong, it immediately cut the connection with the hollow soul, firmly dragging him out of that wonderful scene. Shi Yang sat still on the ground. He was mentally and physically exhausted, but his eyes were bright. As he had found the teleportation formation, when his sea of consciousness restored, he could save strength and time to find it next time. Although he had taken risks this time, his harvest wasn't bad. But he needed to recover his soul consciousness first. With that thought, he sat still, adjusted his breath and fell asleep. The typical way to supplement the consumed profound qi was to condense the qi of the heaven and earth. However, to recover the soul consciousness, besides the precious pellets that people drooled for, the simplest method was to sleep and relax. One day and one night passed as fast as a blink of an eye. Shi Yang woke up worried. He sensed his sea of consciousness, then shook his head miserably. Sleeping was a simple way to supplement the soul consciousness. However, since it was too simple, its effect was the smallest. After sleeping for one day and one night, his soul consciousness had restored so little that he wanted to cry. The process of sensing the blacksmith's secrets of success had consumed 70% of his sea of consciousness. This sleep helped his soul consciousness recover, but not even 5%. Anyway, he couldn't sleep all the time. After one day and one night, he was sober, and to put himself to sleep again was impossible. Shi Yang calculated that if he used sleep to restore his soul consciousness, with this speed, he would need 1 month to fully recover. 1 month. Shi Yang got a headache. It was just the first time he had read the blacksmith's secrets of success, as the information was flowing swiftly in his head. After his soul consciousness restored, he didn't know how many times he had to drain his sea of consciousness to perceive the subtle features of the teleportation formation. In this wonderful world, the consumption speed of soul consciousness could be considered terrifying. To comprehend the Upanishad of the teleportation formation, he needed to visit that world more often to digest the details slowly. With this speed of consumption, his full soul consciousness was just enough to endure 1 hour. What he could do in 1 hour? If it needed 1 month after one time of observing the formation, how much time did he have to spend to gain the subtle features of the teleportation formation? No, he had to find another method. Shi Yang stood up and went out of the room. Looking at the spirit potion valley afar from him, he saw many alchemists hurrying back and forth with worried faces. Alchemist. His mind was moved, and his eyes brightened. He couldn't help but smile. Where was he? The Dead Soul Mountain Range. Things that were abundant here were alchemists and their pellets. It would be hard to find the pellet to restore his soul consciousness somewhere else. But in the Spirit Potion Valley, he should be able to find some, right? He was moved, so he immediately gave up the idea of sleeping to recover his soul consciousness. Then, he strolled towards the Spirit Potion Valley. A strand of his soul consciousness caressed the storage ring, swiftly touching each of the sparkling crystals and tools. He was considering what he should use to exchange for the pellets to recover his soul consciousness. The Yang family was filthy rich. After that battle in the Endless Sea, the cultivating materials and crystals he collected from other forces were too many. When he left, his storage ring was packed. There were 3,000 top-grade essence chi crystals, 15,000 high-grade essence chi crystals, and the other materials piled up like small mountains. Even if he was in the divine Great Land, he was still a young rich man. Only the most outstanding disciples of the 7 factions could be able to compare to him in terms of wealth. He didn't need to worry about the essence chi crystals. After Shi Yang left the precious tool valley, he was surprised, and his face changed a little bit. He could sense that there were at least 7 spirit realm experts in the Spirit Potion Valley. Also, there were strong aura that were hiding, just like the firm, grand mountains. Their energy fluctuations were heavy, but they were concealed. However, Shi Yang could still sense them. So many strong warriors. It had been half a month. What had happened to the Precious Tool Valley and the Spirit Potion Valley? Why were there so many strong warriors gathering here? Dead souls. Recalling the grimaced face of the elder before, Shi Yang seemed to get the problem. The danger of the dead soul should have been spreading out, which gathered the warriors living around the Dead Soul mountain range in the Spirit Potion Valley and the Precious Tool Valley. In the two valleys, besides the aura of the spirit realm experts, many cold-faced warriors were walking on the streets. It wasn't an exception. Those warriors had followed the path of cultivating their powers. They were masters in bloody fighting, but they weren't alchemists or blacksmiths. Whenever the dead souls had some great changes, precious treasures would fly out from the dead souls' evil lairs. Many of them were the top-grade ones in the divine Great Land. The oncoming catastrophe from the dead souls made some chicken warriors leave, but it attracted some with big guts too. People died for money, and the birds died in pursuit of food. As long as they could earn some benefits, to the warriors, there was no dangerous place they couldn't enter. They all knew that the Dead Soul mountain range would be a dreadful place. Thus, many of them still came for the greed of treasures. Of course, the ones who dared to come here weren't nice. They looked vicious and had a murderous aura. Shi Yang couldn't help but stare at them. I should go to find the pellets to restore my soul consciousness first. Shi Yang thought and sped up, walking straight to the Spirit Potion Valley. Chapter 542, Evil Wind Turbulence. Chapter 542, Evil Wind Turbulence. What? No! Not even a single pellet. Shi Yang clenched his jaw in a shock, his face angry. You guys don't even have the pellet to restore the soul consciousness. What the heck are you selling? Doesn't this store sell pellets? I'm sorry, sir. Besides that type of pellet and medicines, we have everything else. For example, we have the pellets to restore essence chi, strengthen your physique, stable your realm to prevent bedevilment, etc. We have plenty of them here. You can choose anything you want. We can always deal the price. The shopkeeper smiled humbly, bowing his body. Shi Yang wore a cold face, then left while snorting. 15 minutes later, standing in the middle of a crowded street in the Spirit Potion Valley, Shi Yang felt dispirited. He had visited 10 stores, and none of them was an exception. They didn't have even a single pellet that could do something with soul consciousness. The threat from the dead souls had been spread out all over the Dead Soul mountain range. The first thing the warriors did when they came here was to buy the pellets and medicine that could help restore and strengthen their soul consciousness. The dead souls could erode the soul, which depended on the sea of consciousness. If a warrior's sea of consciousness weren't stable, his soul would be weakened, and thus, the dead soul could easily attack him. All warriors understood the nature of the dead souls as they knew how important it was to strengthen their soul consciousness. Within 5 or 6 days, all pellets that could help strengthen the soul consciousness in the Spirit Potion Valley, even if they had their price rocketed, were all sold out. These sorts of pellet became scarce now. Alchemists who could refine them had stopped supplying to the shop. They wanted to keep the medicine for themselves. All of a sudden, in this big Spirit Potion Valley, no store could supply this kind of a pellet or medicine. Even if they were willing to buy with a good price, the alchemists didn't want to sell. The news regarding the dead souls had been spread out fast in the two valleys. The more they talked about it, the more dangerous it became. The powers of the dead souls were amplified continually by the news they were telling each other. People felt insecure, and the alchemists and the blacksmiths didn't dare to leave the valleys. They were concentrating on refining pellets and forging weapons for themselves. They had to improve their willpower at any cost. At this moment, the pellets that could supplement the soul consciousness became the treasure to protect their lives. None of them agreed to sell even a single pellet. The warriors came here for the dead souls had used a lot of money to collect the goods. Shortly, there was no stock in the entire Spirit Potion Valley. Shi Yang had so many essence chi crystals to spend, but he couldn't find a supplier. He had a big regret now. He was the first one who got to know the anomaly of the dead souls. If he had been smarter, He could have collected more medicines of this kind right when the news was still concealed. Too late to regret. The feeling of having a lot of money but not being able to buy the goods he wanted agitated him. Along the streets in the center of the valley, warriors were walking back and forth with gloomy faces. Their eyes were ferocious when looking at the others, just like a starving wolf, as if they considered all strangers their enemies. The valley where people used to live in harmony and peace now was at daggers. The atmosphere was tense too. Although Shi Yang had stomped his feet in regret, it was of no use. He gradually gathered himself together, and squinted his eyes with a cold look on his face. He was about to find one or two guys who didn't have a good vision to rob them. He wasn't a good guy, his hands had been soaked in blood. Once he was determined, killing a man and destroying his body wasn't a thing to him. As the goods were scarce and he could buy them from nowhere, if he wanted to have the pellets, the only way to do was to snatch the things he wanted. He didn't have a mental barrier when stealing or snatching things from other people. Once he spotted the target, he wasn't afraid of killing in mass scale. Most the warriors in the valley now weren't good guys. While killing these sorts of men, he wouldn't feel guilty. When he was observing pedestrians with an evil look, a familiar figure appeared in his vision, Tai Mu. 5 people of Tai Mu's group hadn't left the Dead Soul Mountain range. They knew of the oncoming deadly event, but because of the 3 dead souls, they were still waiting for Cherry to compensate them. Tai Mu saw Shi Yang standing at the corner and was terrified, keeping his mouth shut. He instinctively wanted to get rid of that young man. At this moment, Shi Yang's face was thin and pallid. His look was cold and dark, while the corner of his mouth curled a little bit, just like a cold knife. He looked as savage as a beast waiting for its prey. Other people didn't know Shi Yang, but Tai Mu had experienced it. As he saw Shi Yang's look, he wanted to run away as fast as possible. "Come here." Shi Yang snorted, then made a gesture with his finger. He sneered, "Where do you want to hide seeing me? Are you afraid that I'll eat you alive?" Tai Mu was timid, his face long as if the other had asked him to kill a child. "Shi Yang Ji, we aren't going to ask you for the dead souls. What do you want? Help me buy some pellet to restore the soul consciousness. I don't care about the price." Shi Yang searched his storage ring. Translucent top-grade essence chi crystals emerged one by one in his palm. They were sparkling beautifully under the sun like precious gems. "I don't have them." Tai Mu shook his head bitterly. "Really, I don't have them. When I arrived at the Spirit Potion Valley, they had stopped selling them. Anyway, Cherry told us that 3 days later, she would give us some pellets of this kind. We're waiting for her. That's why we haven't left yet." "Cherry." Shi Yang was startled. He curled his lips into a smile. His figure faded, then disappeared in just a blink. "That slaughtering star, sigh. I really thought that he wanted to eat humans. Those who are having bad luck getting this guy watching over them would never be able to leave the Dead Soul Mountain range. I don't know why I feel scared just by looking at him." Tai Mu swept away the beads on his forehead and muttered, "He said that he forgave us because we're the members of the God's sect." "Do you think he's a disciple of the God's sect, too?" assumed the young girl. "If he were one of the God's sect's disciples, why would he stay anonymous?" Tai Mu objected. "I think he knows someone from our sect and his impression of our sect isn't bad. But it's certain that he isn't a member of the God's sect. With his realm at his age, as long as he's one of us, he'll be famous. It's impossible that no one knows him." His friends thought, then nodded in agreement. Spirit Hall. "Is Cherry here?" Shi Yang stopped a guard and asked him without manners. "You are." The guard was dizzy. He was bewildered for a while, then replied to Shi Yang with respect. "I'll call her for you." This guard had seen Shi Yang before. As he saw that Jia Lin was servile to him, he understood that Shi Yang wasn't a small character. He didn't linger, and hurled himself out of the hall. Not long after that, Cherry arrived. She invited Shi Yang to get inside with a smiling face. "Old Li's here, too." Cherry took him to the corner, then lowered her tone. "The other 4 elders are here too. Why haven't you left yet? I heard that you have the pellets to recover the soul consciousness. Give me some. I'll pay you a good price." Shi Yang wasn't interested in Li Zhengrong and his men, asking for the pellets directly. Cherry was surprised. Do you want to find the dead soul's evil lairs to test your fortune, too? No. I need them for another purpose. Shi Yang shook his head. While he was talking, pieces of top-grade essence chi crystals had been put into a gold-threaded gunnysack. Shortly, the gunnysack was filled with top-grade essence chi crystals. There were hundreds of them at least. He directly threw the sack to Cherry and told her, "No matter what price you offer, I'll take them all." Cherry was full of regret since she didn't know why he was so hurried. "Here, take these 3 bottles of the soul restoration pellet. Each bottle has 70 pills." "Thanks," Shi Yang smiled at her, didn't turn his head back and left immediately. "Hey!" Cherry called out. But by the time her voice arose, she didn't see his shadow anywhere. This be asterisk starred. What's he doing? Why he's so hurried? Cherry stomped her feet. Looking at the sack of top-grade essence chi, she was surprised and happy at the same time. Being a hall guard, her salary for 1 year was just 50 top-grade essence chi crystals. This gunny sack of essence chi was a huge fortune to her, as much as her wages of 3 or 4 years working at the spirit hall. However, this wasn't what she wanted. She was suspicious, and she wanted to meet Shi Yang to make it clear. But Shi Yang disappeared instantly, and didn't even give her his address. "Cherry, who's that kid? Why did he give you so many essence chi crystals? Are you too?" A thin alchemist with a gloomy face had witnessed all the things. He approached her quietly and asked. "None of your business." Shi Yang snorted with his cold appearance. She didn't pay attention to that alchemist, taking her crystals and walking to the hall. "What?" He came. In a quiet chamber behind the spirit hall, Lin Yaqi jolted up. "Where's he?" "Left. When I wanted to chase after him, I couldn't see him anywhere," explained Cherry. Lin Yaqi didn't look happy as she asked the other girl arrogantly. "What did that asterisk shoal come for?" "He wanted to buy the soul consciousness restoring pellets. I gave him," Cherry narrated. "Soul consciousness restoring pellets." Lin Yaqi chuckled. She squinted her eyes and then said smilingly, "Seems he's interested in the dead soul's evil lairs too. Well, excellent. In several days, a young generation of experts from the Pure Land, the Radiant God Cult, and the Devil Valley will gather. I don't like some of them, but I'm not their match. That asterisk shoals here too, so I will ask him to teach them a lesson." Lin Yaqi was thrilled. Cherry kept her mouth shut, not daring to talk much. The news of the young experts from the Pure Land, the Radiant God Cult, and the Devil Valley were about to arrive had been spread out all over the Dead Soul Mountain range. Those people would come together with their full power. On the one hand, they wanted to kill the dead souls, and on the other, this was a good chance for them to practice their skills. Also, they had a secret hope of collecting strange treasures from the dead souls' evil lairs. Young hotshots of these 3 ancient factions in the divine Great Land always had keen eyesight. Their men were domineering, and the women were arrogant. Each of them had brutal deeds that made people fear them. Although Cherry was an alchemist, her rank wasn't high enough. When she saw those people, she had to behave and not dare to quarrel with them. Lin Yaqi, as Li Zhengrong's disciple, of course wasn't afraid. Anyway, her realm was relatively low, so she wasn't their opponent. In the past, whenever they had a dispute, she always bore a bit of a loss, which she still kept in her heart. However, she had no way to counter them. But now she knew Shi Yang was here, she immediately wanted to use the relationship with Shi Yang to ask him to take revenge for her. The Precious Tool Valley and the Spirit Potion Valley are just that big. As long as he still stays in the valleys, I can always drag him out. Harumph. Lin Yaqi contemplated for a while. She squinted and smiled. Later on, she didn't tell Cherry but left the spirit hall alone, walking around the valley where evil wolves were playing. Cherry waited for her to leave further, then hurried to find Jia Lin to report him that the girl had left. After Shi Yang got the soul-restoring pellet, he stormed into the chamber he had rented and started to restore his consumed soul consciousness as fast as he could. He was preparing to probe the mystically subtle features of the teleportation formation once again, You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.